While many have their St. Patrick's Day traditions down pat, be it going out with their friends or digging into corned beef, sim racers tend to celebrate things just a little bit differently. For the North American Racing League, it's high time to get Season 3 on the road, and we're lucky enough to do so at a venue named Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta. Hello and welcome to PitStop TV for the first race of NARL GT3 Season 3. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, as always, with JP Costa alongside, and JP, we made it! A winter of waiting done, out of the way, and a spring of racing is in full focus, and it begins this evening with a couple of races in Braselton, Georgia.
Hello and welcome. Well, thank you for welcoming me, actually, and I'm so excited, Andrew. I definitely missed the GT3 action with these guys. You know, they put on an amazing show last season. We had some amazing races, amazing overtakes, amazing moments, and I cannot wait to do it all over again. And we're starting, as you mentioned, in Road Atlanta, one of my favorites, if not my second favorite, because Interlagos is always going to be the favorite one, but definitely my second favorite racetrack on iRacing. I just absolutely love the challenge that Road Atlanta brings me, and it's definitely going to bring these drivers a ton of challenges. We all know the nature of the race course, and it's bound to be lots of fun.
I say it all too often, Road Atlanta is one of the best circuits in the entire world, and certainly one of the best then that we have on iRacing. It's just a fantastic racetrack. I think it exemplifies everything that classic race courses are made of, and classic American race courses especially are made of. Here's a top-down view of the track map here. The fastest lap ever turned here in racing conditions, set by an LMP1 car in 2008. That was a Peugeot 908, Christian Klein, behind the wheel. It is just a classic American race course. Turn 1, sweeping uphill. That braking zone to get the nose set can either be dangerous or beneficial. Obviously, it depends on how you play it. Turn 2, 3, it's all blind to get into the S's, and down to turn 5 to take you back up towards turn 6. And 6 and 7 feel like one hairpin almost, but they are definitely two corners. That braking zone for 6 feels like you're getting into one hairpin, almost like a Sonoma, but then you have that little bit of acceleration just before you get down to turn 7, drop a couple more gears, and get ready for that long back stretch, which you can, in fact, land a plane on. You go down the hill out of turn 9, 10A, 10B, that fantastic chicane that sets up so many opportunities. Think back to Petit Le Mans this past year in 2021. That's where a championship was decided in DPI, and that is essentially your whole lap around Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta. Your GT Daytona lap record here, a 1:19.310. We are lapping faster than that so far today. So these iRacing GT3 cars, yeah, they're on it.
Absolutely, and the challenge that these cars are going to bring around this race course, obviously, you know it, Andrew, I know it, pretty much each and every single viewer that's watching this probably knows it. You know, as you mentioned, a classic race course doesn't have any runoff areas at all, I don't think, so it's a really big challenge. Obviously, they're running GT3 cars, which will have the benefit of ABS, but if you get on the grass, Andrew, if you get this car spinning, not even ABS might save you on Road Atlanta.
Yeah, you're right. There are really no runoff areas in the normal sense of the word. You have grass. That's about all you've got to save you, and that doesn't save you in a GT3 car. It's only going to cause more problems. So you've got to be so picture perfect, down to the millimeter getting around here, and especially that first uphill section where you come over the crest of turn 3. I know a buddy of mine always tells me to aim for a light pole, but it still just never really helps. It's so difficult to hone in on where you need to be headed to turn 3 and headed up over that crest to really begin your lap, and that just sets the tone, obviously. If you make turn 3 real nicely, then yeah, you're gonna have a decent lap probably. You're already in the zone, you're feeling the rhythm, but if you get out of rhythm, out of sync in turn 3, it's gonna be a rough time, and sure, you might get back into the rhythm on the backstretch, but that's only for one braking zone in 10A, 10B. Of course, pit lane entry and exit are going to be challenging tonight as well. We will have pit stops, of course, in that pro race in just a little while, so watch out for that. Let's talk about the schedule, though, JP. We haven't actually looked at this just yet. We've seen a whole lot with the Porsche Cup season getting into full swing. Here is a look at the 8-race GT3 Season 3 schedule. Kicking things off, as you can see, here at Road Atlanta this evening. Next week, though, we have our first night race with the North American Racing League. We're going to Sebring. And I mean, it's March. It is late March. This is the time to go to Sebring, of course. 12 hours of Sebring, was it this week, next week? This is the time to go to Sebring, period. And it fits in real nicely at race number 2. Race 3, just like in the Porsche Cup Series, it's Long Beach. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. It is going to be treacherous. We've seen that already, but it is going to be a lot of fun. Red Bull Ring there at race number 4. Zolder will take us for race number 5. In fact, that's going to be Zolder alternate, so it's going to be the alternate chicane there on the back end of the circuit. Charlotte Motor Speedway still checks in at race 6, just like that Porsche Cup schedule. And then look at that, JP. It's VIR, of course, I love dearly, and Interlagos, of course, you love dearly.
Yeah, it's an absolutely amazing schedule. Obviously, I'm very excited for Interlagos, but the whole schedule, Andrew, is just so interesting. If you think about it, you know, really, the only, on the first 4 weeks, the only breathing room that they have on race courses, I think, is going to be Red Bull Ring. You know, Road Atlanta, obviously very tricky. We know the nature of this race course. Sebring, with all those bumps, that's going to bring a new challenge for these guys. Long Beach, we've already had a bit of experience in the Porsche Cup. We know how difficult it is. And obviously, Red Bull Ring, you get that big F1 circuit, you know, those long straightaways, those kind of runoff areas in some sections. So it's kind of a breathing room. Then Zolder, Charlotte, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the only track they're going to share with the Porsche Cup side of NARL, and then VIR Interlagos, obviously, to finish the season off. It's just an amazing, a 10 out of a 10 schedule.
Yeah, I mean, there are some similarities. Of course, Long Beach and Charlotte are the ones that come to mind. In fact, we can, you know what we can do is we can compare schedules. So this is the Porsche Cup schedule. Road Atlanta, Red Bull Ring are shared, but in different slots. Spa, Hungaroring, Hockenheim, I don't recall those being on the list. Let's go ahead and compare. I like this back and forth. Yeah, you can see we're sharing Road Atlanta, sharing Red Bull, sharing Charlotte, and Long Beach, and then the rest are some variety. And I like that. There is some familiarity between tracks. These drivers that are crossing over series, they get that little bit of sameness, if you will. They get a little bit of extra practice on some of these tracks, but you do obviously get that variety, which is so important in a series on iRacing. There's so many tracks that people want to go to, and I absolutely understand wanting to get to as many of them as possible, and I like the way this is working. We get familiarity, we get a few of the same tracks, but we also get plenty of variety as we build this season. Let's go trackside, though. Enough jibber-jabber about just getting the series started. Let's get the season started. Teague Ashburn, fastest so far in practice. Sam Swed Canaan Esports is strong today. The 871 looking plenty good. Diego Eda there in second so far in practice, also looking good on his number 77. And Andrew Parente holding things down for the Andrew name. I like that in third in practice so far.
Really close times as well throughout the board. Oh, as you can see, already a few victims, already the first victim that we caught on camera. And Andrew, something that I kind of missed about the Porsche Cup is the variety of cars. We can see a lot of different manufacturers. Yes. We saw the Mercedes, we are watching the BMW, we saw the Ferrari, we saw McLaren as well. So this difference in manufacturers and obviously the nature of the cars as well, it's really going to balance the championship out and should really highlight the qualities of the drivers as they choose, you know, each manufacturer as it suits their driving style.
You can see here one of the new Ferrari 488 Evos, new for 2022 on iRacing. I think they added it back into 2021, to be fair, but still one of the newer cars in the service. We can look around the field and get used to a few more of them. There's the Mercedes you were talking about, a mainstay here on the iRacing.com service in the GT3 class. Certainly wouldn't mind the Evo version of that, but I must say that is still a very good-looking Mercedes AMG. It still gets all kinds of feelings going for race fans everywhere. There's the BMW M4, brand new to IMSA this year. Glad that it was added on iRacing a little bit early. Matthew Casey's out there, one of the Porsches. We've seen Casey run the Porsches before, and that is clearly a nod to the Porsche Cup livery. So we get a little bit of that kind of crossover there, JP. I like that we've got that. Zachariah Rosar is here today in a BMW. Here is a look at Brandon Levier in car 86. A lot of new drivers as well in this field, and we always love that.
Oh, absolutely. That's going to bring... Oh, that was an amazing save. That's going to bring a new, as you mentioned, variety, you know, seeing those different names. And obviously, the familiar names as well. It's going to bring a few memories back to the Porsche Cup. Dan Willis here on the Audi. You can see Brent Kincott on his Audi. And this is, Andrew, I think like this is really interesting. I'm pretty sure we have all manufacturers apart from the Ford, but the Ford was retired from iRacing, wasn't it?
Well, it's not been retired. It's still there for use, but really nobody does use it at this point. These cars are much more updated, the rest of them anyway, and certainly do look really, really nice. Here's a look at Sean Patterson in his Ferrari. David Stevenson is out there. Joshua Benjamin here in one of the long shot Ferraris. Just a good look at a lot of these paint schemes, a lot of these liveries, and I know Tam Liveries had a hand in several of them as per usual. Here's a look at Joshua Lyon headed down the pit lane. How about Nicholas Sykes in car 26? Now that is a looker.
Yeah, that's a great looking livery, and this is something we're used to as well, talking about the liveries and how different they are. I love kind of a neon chrome, I guess you can say. I love the livery just in front, you know, the Lightning McQueen livery, as well as an eye catcher. And this is another opportunity to the drivers, you know, show a bit of their personal side, I guess you can say. You know, the livery obviously highlights that personal side, actually, of, you know, is the way that you kind of, I don't know the word in English, but you kind of put to the world how you can express yourself.
Definitely agree with that, as we have 49 cars expressing themselves, or 49 drivers expressing themselves in this session tonight. Yes, you heard me right. 49 cars here for race number 1, and this is just the AM race. Now, if you're new to this, if you haven't checked into the Porsche Cup races earlier on in 2022, the new league structure here at the North American Racing League is an amateur race followed up by a Pro-Am race. Now, in Porsche Cup, that is a 30-minute amateur race followed up by a 50-minute Pro-Am race. Here in GT3 action, it's a 40-minute race followed by a 50. So a little bit different, 10 minutes extra racing here in the amateur race, and I like that. We get a little bit extra racing, of course, a few extra laps, never hurt nobody, and it should be a whole lot of fun today. A couple of corners that we do want to highlight before we really get too far into things. Well, you have to start with turn 1, JP, and this is a good look at the entry there to turn 1. This is where, obviously, your lap begins to get set, that first braking zone, that first turn in, but really, it comes down to right here, turn 3, coming up to turn 3, really, where you've got to just get everything right. You cannot be too far to the inside. You might pop the curb a little too much, upset the car. You might even get an off track or a corner cut right there at the inside of turn 3. And obviously, if you don't turn in at the just, you know, maybe if you turn in too late, rather, you're obviously going wide and going off to the club's little chicanes there that nobody likes through the S's. So you definitely have to be perfect right here. And again, I think this is where the tempo for your lap is certainly set. You head down the S's, and JP, I love the S's here at Road Atlanta. That is just one of the best, I guess, images of racetrack or anything ever that you could look at. Just being able to see the sweeping corners, I mean, I don't know, it just looks good, and it's also pretty iconic, I would say. Having to fly down these S's, no matter what car you're in, if you don't have a whole lot of downforce, it's tough. If you do have a lot of downforce, it is blinding, and it rattles your brain.
Oh, absolutely. I love this section of the race course, and it kind of just brings all of that confidence that I feel like you have to build. At least personally for me, I love this shot, and this for me is one of the trickiest corners, you know, turn 5, the exit of it. You really have to use that curb to be fast. You really have to extend a bit, but obviously if you extend just a tiny too much, use a bit too much of that curb, you're gonna end up losing your car, and that's a bit of the nature of Road Atlanta, I guess. You know, you need to push the limit, but if you just, you know, push a bit too much, even by a few centimeters, your lap is gone, your race might be gone, and I love that challenge. And obviously, Andrew, you mentioned you have this small straightaway, turn 6 and 7, quick right-handers, as you can see, you know, just a tad bit of the throttle between them, and then another big braking zone, and then the massive straightaway where you can either save fuel, line up a move, or just essentially relax. Especially in qualifying session, you can bring your heart rate a bit down, focus on your braking point through turn 10, and then, well, essentially do it all over again on exit.
Well, and we stopped here. This is what I really want to talk about. This is the second big part of the lap. Turn 6, you can kind of get away with losing a tenth or two. You can get away with being a little bit off. You don't have to be completely perfect in turn 6, but you have to be perfect in turn 7, most particularly with getting the power down. You can see that darkened strip of asphalt where cars have run in some rubber. You've got to get the power down at just the right spot so as to not over-rotate or under-rotate. You don't want to push off the racetrack and have to get out of the throttle. You don't want to have to get loose, neither shake the car about trying to save the car, or even have to jump out of throttle there, or even spin. So you've got to be so perfect in turn 7, because it does lead into that backstretch that you're talking about. Turn 8 really is not a turn, turn 9 really is not a turn, but you've got to be so perfect at 7 to be on power all the way down to turn number 10. Again, this is where you can land an airplane here at Road Atlanta. There aren't too many racetracks that can boast that, so you've got to be so perfect in turn 7 to get down this backstretch. And then yes, you do get down to 10A, 10B, and things, I think, get back to a little bit of normalcy. You have that hard braking zone, the left-right chicane, and then you head back over turn 11. That's where things get interesting. A lot like turn 3, you have that kind of blind turn in, and you get back down to turn 12, and it's just full power. You've got to make sure you are in that power, and you stay in that power to get the most out of it. Now, qualifying, as you can see, has been going on. Cars getting onto the racetrack, cars getting their times in. To begin this qualifying session, here is a look. David Hicks, fastest so far in car 20.
The Mercedes looking a bit dominant, and that's very good to see. You know, as you mentioned, Andrew, it's definitely a looker. As you can see, a Porsche going a bit too wide, and that's something, that's the nature. We're gonna see plenty of that, I think, Andrew. You can see Alan Dobbs just, you know, pushing a bit too much out of turn number 1, which is essentially just about confidence. You can see now BMW of Rodriguez just coming up, and Parente goes fast as a 118.0. So just by over a tenth of a second over that Mercedes we were just looking. So the Ferrari looking strong. Seems like Formula 1 all over again, a Ferrari and Mercedes.
Well, maybe not for a couple of years, but I see where you're going there. Joshua Tucker, car 112, fourth. Quick saw T. Gashburn there. David Hicks is second. There's Diego Eda again in car 77. Alan Dobbs is sixth. David Stevenson checking in seventh spot. So we're starting to get an idea of who might be quick and who might not be so quick today at Road Atlanta. Here's a good look at Lachlan Holiday. Car 96, he's just one off. I think he was going for that lightning McQueen 95 thing, but hey, 96 works. That's close enough. We saw Brian Long a little bit getting his qualifying run going with the Sim Racing for Simpletons brand there. Simpletons. There we go. I don't know why I couldn't get that one out. Sim Racing for Simpletons there for car number 12. William Coffey there in 10th. Cody Hatch in 11th. Just getting a look at some of the field, and this is insane. To think we've got 50 cars almost, so we're trying to learn some of them on the fly. Let's go down the order a little bit. Let's meet a guy named another Andrew here. Do you want to try that name, JP? Do you want to try that last name?
Korostecki?
I think you're about right, but it definitely does not look inviting. Korostecki, I think, is pretty well on par. That is going to be a fun one to try and say in the heat of battle. Here's a look at Eric Kulaga in car 166. We've also got, let's see, Armando Bejaran just went faster. He comes across the line, comes to a stop. How about Joshua Lyon in a BMW?
Yeah, that BMW also rocking a Red Bull livery. It looks like mixed of a camel livery. Angelico, kind of a similar name if I'm not mistaken, if it's the same driver I'm thinking. Rocking an Alfa Romeo, so we kind of have the F1 liveries on the GT3 cars, Andrew, as well, which is really interesting to see. He's currently 1.6 seconds off of pole, just outside the top 20. No, just outside the top 30. So yeah, that's how close the field is as they come, as you can see now, the BMW coming into the braking zone, Andrew. And this is the part where I'm not quite sure if the front engine cars will, be thankful around these corners, if the Ferrari or the Audi, even the Porsche might have an advantage over the lights of the BMW and the Mercedes.
We will definitely find out. I do want to comment on this livery because Dominic has been very, very sure to keep up on updating us with these and giving us some pretty cool liveries to look at. I like that this is going after the Alfa Romeo kind of Giulia deal. It's probably the closest looking car to an Alfa Romeo Giulia, but it's definitely not an Alfa. I think it would have still been better on a Ferrari, but you know what? That shows that he's gone from the Ferrari to maybe preferring the way this BMW feels and saw that opportunity to make it look like a Giulia, so I kind of like it there. I like what Angelico has done there. Adolfo Perez in car 92 is 35th fastest so far. Dominic was 34th, so this is a look at maybe the opposite end of the leaderboard currently, as one driver just went very far north on the order, and it may have been Avon Dorsey, and yes, I think it was. Car 7 up to 17th quick, and that might not sound all that great at first. Think about, 17th, there's still 16 cars ahead of you, but when you've got a nearly 50 car field, JP, you're beating 30 others, and that is impressive.
Oh, absolutely. I'm pretty sure this race also is just, kind of getting the nerves down as well, Andrew. The start of the season often is, I guess, the most nerve-wracking race you can get. Apart, obviously, if you're fighting for the championship on the last race, the last lap. But, starting the championship, you kind of get a bit of those nerves going, and it kind of might, just hide a bit of your performance. So as drivers start putting the laps in and start feeling more confident, we're gonna see drivers elevating their pace. And obviously, as you mentioned, even though you're 17th, you're ahead of 30 odd drivers, so still a lot of things to take away from.
On board here with Jeff Castillo, currently the slowest of the qualifiers, but you know what? He's out there, he's turning laps, and this is what I appreciate so much about sim racing, is even after your qualifying run, you can go keep running laps, and look at that! It wasn't even after his qualifying run. He just got a whole lot faster, picked up 2 seconds, and goes from 46th to 37th, picking up about 10 positions. Props to Jeff Castillo right there, sticking in it to the very end of qualifying nearly, in fact, within the last minute, going way up the order. And just behind this guy, Adolfo Perez, that we took a look at just a little bit ago. There's only one other car on the track. Do you want to guess who it is?
Ooh. Oh, there you go.
Lightning McQueen.
There you go. He's just trying to rock the catch out, I guess, trying to get the nice reflection off of the side panels. And as you mentioned, Andrew, we kind of mention this all the time. Drivers that have the opportunity to keep practicing laps, even after their qualifying efforts are done, it's good practice, you know. It's practice, and more practice the better, you know, especially on tracks like this where you need the confidence, you need to know your car and the limits of it.
It's such valuable experience, and you get a little bit of that feel as the tires wear out and the track goes away from you, because you only get 3 timed laps here in qualifying, but you can run a few extras, and you can get these extra laps and get a feel for how the tires might come up to temperature if you haven't already. So this is very valuable time that these certain drivers are using very wisely, and other drivers might want to consider in the future. Qualifying will run out, which means, well, JP, I don't think we're going through 49 cars, but we can certainly give it a shot. Starting on pole, you'll find car number 20. That's David Hicks with the first pole of the season here in amateur, and it's Andrew Parente starting from second. Starting third, you'll find car 871, Teague Ashburn for Sam Swid-Kanan. It's Joshua Tucker starting fourth. Starting fifth, it's car 77, Diego Eda with Alan Dobbs. How about that? Starting in sixth. Starting seventh, it's David Stevenson, Lachlan Holiday joining him in row 4. Row 5 goes the way of sim racing for simpletons, Brian Long and William Coffey.
11th place goes to Cody Hatch. Alongside him, Rob Rodriguez in 12th place. 13th place will go the ways of Brent Kincott in the 177, and the 107 of Mike Braun on his outside in 14th place. 15th place will go to Dan Willis in the 127, and Kenneth Michael in 16th place on his number 19 machine. 17th place will go to Evan Dorsey in the number 7, and the 199 of Zachariah Roser in 18th place. Row number 10 will start with Brendan Lovier on the number 88, and number 76 of Leon Clover in 20th place.
See, it's not just me that, you know, butchers these words every once in a while. It is our Portuguese speaker speaking English, so it's crazy how that works. Anyways, hey, look at that. We see a pace car. We can take this kind of sigh of relief. Breathe for a second, JP. We have a moment to go through the running order. I kind of forgot about that. We have these rolling starts with GT3 races. Isn't it nice? We can breathe trying to get this grid out. We get so used to the quick fire starts with BSR and the Porsche Cup Series. But anyways, let's go on to row number 11. And it's Sean Patterson starting 21st. Eric Kulaga there in car 166 starting from 22nd. Starting 23rd, you'll find Ilya Speaker in number 6. One of the newer drivers of the series that we've seen a lot of in the Porsche Cup side. And of course, Matthew Casey in one of those Porsches this evening starting 24th. Car 37, Chris Winstone rolls off from the 25th position. It's Sonny Brown starting from 26th. Starting 27th, you'll find Nicholas Sykes in car 26 with Milan Harris there in 28th. And to round out your top 30, it's Joshua Benjamin and Pablo Ferretti.
31st place will go to Sahapadihar. Wow, that's a difficult one. The number 72. The number 105 of Armando Bejarwan is going to start in 32nd place. 33rd place will go to the number 49 of Joshua Lyon. The number 17 of Owen Kerr is going to start in 34th place. 35th will go the ways of Dominic Angelico in the number 128. The number 92 of Adolfo Perez is going to start in 36th. 37th place will go the ways of Jeff Castillo in the number 110. And the number 70 of Philip Berdeka is going to start in 38th place. 39th and starting row number 20 is going to be Clarence Rosa on the inside, and Chad Nobles in the 40th place on his outside.
Starting 41st, you'll find car 8. That's Kerry Corcoran there on the inside of row, that is what, row 21. That's crazy to think. Starting 42nd rather, right there with him is Chip Witt in car 171. In row 22, you'll find car number 33, Andrew Leitch with Tyree Phillips there starting from the 44th position. This is crazy. I love this. This is so awesome. Starting from the 45th position, I'm losing count here, is car 46, Andrew Korostecki with Tyler Brown 46th. And starting 47th is Eric Sarapoli, brand new to the Porsche Cup Series as well. And you'll find Stephen Grabowski rolling off 48th, appropriately in car number 48. And to round out your field, the 49th starter of 49 cars in what is likely going to be the largest field of the season, it's Daniel Harris, car 68. That has got to be an interesting place to be starting this field from. In fact, we can go on board with him. He is all the way at the back here. JP, would you want to be in his position?
Oh, that's a difficult one. Kind of yes and no. Being last place, you can kind of avoid, some of those battles that we do occasionally get in some of those instances. But obviously, starting in last place, Andrew, in 49th position, it's kind of a difficult road to get up to first place.
Kind of a difficult road. I like how you say that. Here we go. The field is headed down to turn number 10A and 10B. Then it's over the crest at 11 and down the hill at turn 12 to get this race started. 40 minutes of action on the way. The full GT3 field here for you. for the North American Racing League. Maradness on pole with driver David Hicks, and about to get this season underway. Amateur Race 1 in Round 1 is underway. Headed down the S's for the first time. It looks like it's a nice and orderly start, honestly, throughout the entire field. There's a good look at everybody snaking down the hill.
Absolutely. Looks like everybody made it through the first sector. You can see the downhill S's and Andrew. This is an amazing shot. I absolutely love this. We have only, looks like 2 cars going side by side. You can see the McLaren dipping a wheel into the gravel trap, jumping essentially. And you can see the rest of the field going through turns 6 and 7. A few more battles side by side. But looks like, Andrew, nearly everybody, if not everybody, made it through so far.
Really good start. This is what you like to see. This is exactly how to start the first minute of racing in this season. Very, very clean. This is really cool. This is a very long line of race cars headed down now, all ready to turn 9 and into 10A. Our leaders are way, way ahead. It's already a gap of 21 seconds first to last in this field right now. This is really, really cool.
Absolutely, and you can see the leaders kind of just in their own packs, top 3, kind of just breaking away from the rest. You can see even a bigger gap, looks like from 7th to 8th to 9th, and you can see the rest of the field entry going down the hill. The leaders, again, kind of closing in on each other, which is really good to see this front pack really close. Oh, you already have the first winner.
David Stevenson, out of about, what was that, the 7th position, 8th position or so, a Mercedes with a lot of trouble there. He's going to pull off, and it looks like stop. Oh, man, he was looking good, too, to start this race. He'll drop all the way down to 46th. It looks like 3 cars not opting to start this race for whatever reason. There's a look at David Hicks in car 20, leading the way as they're at a turn 7 for the second time today. The Quantum Pay Maradness entry looking good, and that neon yellow ahead of Parente and Ashburn. Joshua Tucker checks in at 4th so far with just 1.5 laps out of the way. Alan Dobbs, usually a stock car driver, in the 5th spot. Diego Eda 7th, or 6th rather. Lachlan Holiday is 7th. Will Coffey's promoted up to 8th, and that is the position that spinning Mercedes vacated rather quickly at a turn number 1. And this is actually a good little line of race cars, including one of the other Maradness drivers in Dan Willis, and he's got to look to the underside there of Brandon Lover. Brandon Lover certainly took a chance, or Lovier, I'm not really sure, but car 88 was looking.
Yeah, definitely was looking down the inside, really confident under braking, looks like the BMW driver, so kind of need to keep an eye out for him, Andrew. We saw some bold moves on Tuesday. Hungarian, no, so he cut the chicane maybe a little bit on the inside, having to give up more time, so an attacking move from him ended up costing him a position, maybe 2 now, so he's gonna only lose 1 position as the rest of the field kind of just lines up in the back of him. And this is interesting, a BMW M4 chasing a Lamborghini Huracan. No, he's losing way more positions due to that slowdown.
But a lot of cars by in the S's, and that's why you just can't do that. Matthew Casey smashed into the wall. Lost control there, and I get it. You want to let cars go by. You want to do the right thing, but you simply can't do it in the S's. It's one line and one line only, and unfortunately, Matthew Casey is done.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of what happens when you go side by side through the S's, when you just take a bit too much of those, marbles, and just the car ends up losing itself. We're going to take a good look on the onboard camera here of Matthew Casey and how exactly his race ended. You can see everybody just trying to make it through his car. He just goes a little bit to the outside, kind of just takes avoiding action, and yep, car's absolutely gonna. That was a massive hit.
That really was a massive, massive hit, and that's just why you got to be so careful about doing stuff like that in the S's. You always have to be predictable. You always just have to stay on the racing line if you're giving up time, and I know that might sound counterintuitive, but if you stay predictable, drivers can avoid you. They know what you're going to do. If you don't, well, that's what happens. It is just 5 minutes into this race, not even 5 minutes into this race yet, JP, and look at car 20 starting to eke out a race lead, starting to pull a bit on Andrew Parente, but hey, that is not a complete race lead just yet, as Alan Dobbs is a problem in the S's.
Oh, another driver having troubles, and another Porsche injured. That's the second Porsche we've seen getting loose, so I wonder if it was a similar incident to the one we just saw, and yet another Porsche.
The Porsches are definitely out to get their drivers today. Joshua Tucker turned around, and and that is, I think, turn 5?
Yeah, looks like the exit of 5.
There we go. That's a good view. Yes, at a turn 5, and one more spins. That's Nicholas Sykes right behind. No, that's not Nicholas Sykes. Hang on. That is a different car well further back. I think Tyree Phillips joining him there. Yes, out of California. Tyree goes for a spin and will get his Audi back going. My goodness, what a start for this race for some of these guys. It took them a couple of laps, but yeah, we found the chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the challenges of Road Atlanta are starting to show. And you can see here the battle for 4th place. Looks like Holiday chasing down Diego Aire. And for 1 second, Andrew, as soon as you cut back, I thought he was the leader. Wow. My heart kind of just skipped a beat. Dan Williams, unfortunately, looks like losing. Oh! A McLaren going through the escape road, the different route. Did he save the car?
Looking for him now. He's over there somewhere, and that is Sahaj in car 72. I mean, that was good as far as getting out of the way, but I think he's got some damage. That car is crabbing pretty badly, and unfortunately, that is a good-looking livery. He's going to have to pull off and give way for this race. Yeah, some of these rejoins, there's just so little room here at Road Atlanta. We've already kind of talked about it, JP. If you do get out of sync, I guess, and you do end up slow on the racetrack at any point in time and trying to give up time, it's very, very easy to do it in the wrong way and, unfortunately, lead to an incident like that. Here's a big gaggle of cars into turn 7, and around goes Sean Patterson.
He's going to lose the car, and, oh, that's a good heads-up move, just reversing the car. Unfortunately for him, there's a lot of cars that try to rejoin safely. He does so. Yes, he does. So a really good heads-up driving by Sean Patterson, unfortunately losing a ton of positions. And you can see 3 BMWs, Andrew, driving, going side by side, and 2 Ferraris battling just behind them as we head into this section of 10A and 10B. They all make it through safely, but this is a challenge of making a move on the chicane. You just can't kind of get vulnerable on the X, and Brendan Love, you're trying now to defend. Once was attacking, now defending, but looks like he's going to hold his position for the time being. Yeah,
Lavier now has that spot. And this is for position 15 on the racetrack. Ilya Speaker just behind, and Joshua Benjamin there as well. Joshua, though, in a Ferrari, so changing things up a little bit. A couple of BMWs, then this Ferrari in line. And this is right in that mid-section of the field. Your top 3 have squared it away into a 4-second race lead. It's Hicks over Parenti over Ashburn. Diego's a little ways back, about 4.2, 4.3 seconds. Then it's another second and change to Lachlan Holiday. Another healthy gap back to Will Coffey, and then Brian Long is in tow. And then you just get this string of cars with small breaks in between. We're on board with Benjamin following Lavier and Spiker as they work through 6 and 7. Another good little gaggle of cars. Looks like back here with Dan Willis after he's rejoined the field with Eric Kulaga there in car 166. Is actually, no, not Kulaga, but Dan Willis and Joshua Lyon, rather. Armando Bejaran here as well.
It's a good, as mentioned, good gaggle of cars, and kind of what we expect, isn't it, Andrew? Kind of just expect to find battles all throughout the racetrack with over 40 cars, nearly 50 cars. Oh, as we see a puff of smoke, we have contact down into the chicane.
Milan Harris, car 69, is finding that this lap is not very nice to him. Lap 7 not working out for him, and one other stopped car there. That seems to be, I think that's Sonny Brown, and yes, that is. And that is one of the Team Empire cars, of course, powered by TAM liveries, and that is not the way to get the season started for either one of these 2 cars. That was close with Grabowski. Thankfully, Grabowski missed him.
Oh, that was very close. Oh, Grabowski almost lost the car as well on the exit of turn 1, and this is, I'm pretty sure, this is the battle for the lead. I saw that gap coming to, what was it, 1.5 seconds down to 0.4 of a second, so I'm not pretty sure if the leader has a bit of damage, maybe just taking it a little bit easier, but that gap to the leader definitely has come down, Andrew, and we might see a battle for the lead emerging really soon.
Well, think about tires, right? As the tires start to wear in on that Merc, he could lose some of that the overall speed, because, of course, the nose is going to go away. A lot more weight out there. It's going to certainly burn those front tires off a little bit, and the Ferrari of Parenti may be able to close in and start to put some pressure on car 20 for the race lead. Just about 10 minutes into this race, a big thank you for the first time this season to our partners here for the North American Racing League GT3 Series. Of course, Race Lab, Maradness, TAM Livery, and JS Consulting doing so much for us here at PitStop TV and the North American Racing League. We do want to go ahead and talk about weather before we go any further in this race, JP. Here's a look at it. 71 degrees in the air, 89 on the racetrack. It's not too toasty, but it is a little warm. Maybe that's explaining some of the troubles for some of these drivers, especially in those portions.
Yeah, absolutely. 31.5 degrees Celsius, kind of a warm temperature.
It's not hot, but it's not cold.
No, yeah, it's a bit of a mix between those two. We saw much colder temperatures before, and we saw much hotter temperatures. So I guess it's on the even ground, you could say. Maybe, I guess, more even to the drivers that were practicing. You know, practice it. Obviously, temperatures will vary quite a lot, so kind of an even ground. You can see a battle right here emerging as well. And Andrew, obviously, we're not gonna have pit stops on this race, but obviously tires, as you mentioned, are going to be a big factor, especially towards the end of the 40-minute race. Could we see some drivers taking it a little bit easier throughout the race to maybe attack or maybe even defend by the end of the, I guess, the final 10-15 minutes?
There is an added level, as you can see, track temp is rising. There is certainly an added level of saving tires in this race. It's 10 minutes longer than the Porsche Cup amateur races, which means you absolutely have to keep your tires in one piece. You've got to keep rubber on the race car and just be a little more mindful of how adventurous and how aggressive you might be in the opening half of this race, certainly. So I think we're going to see that dynamic as the race goes on. A lot of these drivers do cross over from Porsche Cup to GT3, so they get that same experience, and they're likely still in the same class or very close to the same class, so likely still running the amateur race or the Pro-Am race and not really crossing between that a whole lot. So I would expect these guys to have to learn that a little bit. Tuesdays, you can go a little more aggressive. Thursdays, you got to back up a little bit and treat it like a little more of an endurance race. 40 minutes still not all that long, and it is shorter than the Pro-Am race of 50, but it is getting very close to that point.
Absolutely, and as you mentioned, you know, some of these drivers obviously are crossing over from the Porsche League, and something that this league, Andrew, does different from BSR is, well, even though they have, you know, two different cars, two different series, the tracks are not the same throughout each week, so the drivers that are running both series, they have less time to practice for both of them.
Yeah, it's structured a bit differently. Of course, the season started at different times, so you do get some of that similarity. I think Red Bull Ring is going to line up decently close between the two series, but definitely there is a bit of that variety, again, where things are just a little bit different as we're watching a battle with Ilya Speaker and Brandon Levier. Levier is a little ways up the road. Speaker and Clover are close. This is your 14th. Ilya Speaker in car 6 and Leon Clover in car 76 here. As there's a look at Ilya Speaker and a look at the pink 76 of Clover just behind. They're following Alan Dobbs, actually, who was pretty quick earlier on, and Kenneth Michael has got a problem in turn 10.
Oh, just on the, well, the entry essentially of turn A, so turn 10A. So I wonder if maybe a bit of contact, maybe as well, Andrew, he broke on the little grass section, so made that Lamborghini go spinning around. And you can see even more battlings as we head into the main straightaway. And this is just the sort of nature. We're going to see battles all throughout the racetrack, drivers having issues, drivers having difficulties, and you can see even more battles emerging. A BMW versus an Audi. This is a legendary manufacturer battle, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely it is, as Tyree Phillips puts some pressure here on Dominic Angelico, and it should update, there we go, Angelico is just in front in that faux Alfa Romeo. Oh man, these guys are definitely having some troubles, and Tyree is in a very aggressive race car. The Audi is definitely a difficult car to get your hands on, and a place like Road Atlanta is going to be tough, but there will be tracks where this pays off, I think, as the season goes on, so certainly an interesting choice by Tyree to go for the Audi and stick with that for this season, as Andrew Leitch has a problem further back, and will come into the pit lane.
Maybe another driver with terminal issues, which is really sad to see. But Andrew, it once again just highlights the difficulty of this race course. You know, it's just really difficult to put a perfect race together without any mistakes. And unfortunately, 90% of the times when you do have mistakes, it might just be terminal.
Let's go on board with Clarence Rosa in car 71. And this is for position 23, if he can catch Kerry Corcoran in car 8, one of the newcomers to the series. Haven't seen that name before. And I like this race is that little bit of extra time. It gives us a chance to kind of go through the drivers a little more, see some more of these battles. It seems like in the Porsche Cup races, I love the quick and the quick fire 30-minute race. I would even love a 20-minute race, to be honest with you. But I do also like being able to slowly go through some of these cars, meet some of these drivers in a way, and see some of these battles further back. This gives us a chance to look at 23rd, 24th with no issue. You can see on the ticker, though, hey, first and second, they are starting to get close. What do you say we go back on board with Andrew Parente? Actually, I say that. Parente's taking the race lead, hasn't he?
Yeah, he just took the race lead. Well, he took a few laps before. You can see the ticker on his car is already showing the first position. So something happened to Hicks. He lost a bit of pace after leading, well, by 1.5 seconds by the end of lap 4. And, well, he now lost the lead. So we have a Ferrari leading and a Mercedes, well, essentially really close still, Andrew. So this could change at any pace. You can see Hicks going way better into turns 2, 3, and now downhill section catching up quite a lot. But if you get too close on the exit of turn 5, you might just miss your apex by a little bit, and that could hurt you. But the number 20 does it perfectly.
Really good racing up front. As Nicholas Sykes, Dan Willis, they go after it. Sykes loses the spot out of turn 12. We'll come back to that lead battle in just a little bit. Let's look further deep in the top 10 as Cody Hatch is chasing Brian Long, who's chasing Rob Rodriguez. A few cars just about 1 second apart each as they head down this kind of shorter backstretch into turn 6 and turn 7. Another battle on the speedway worth talking about, it would be Joshua Lyon, Dan Willis, and Nicholas Sykes. We just saw Sykes and Willis a minute ago. Sykes losing that spot in the last lap to Willis in turn 12. Willis on a run back through the field, but he doesn't want to run off course like that. That was close.
That was really close for both drivers. Taking a bit of that gravel trap could definitely, well, be really difficult. As you can see, Hicks got past Parente once again down into the final chicane. So this battle, Andrew, is amazing to look at least from the ticker. And these two looks like they're going to go at it. None of them want to save a lot of tires from now. You can see Hicks kicking up a little bit of dirt on the braking zone. Wow, this is going to get very, very interesting.
Good little battle midway through this race. I was hoping we could get through some more of the field, but I'm certainly never going to turn down a battle for the race lead. 23.5 minutes to go, almost. Just inside of 24 to go, in fact. As Parente falls back a little bit that time through the S's, I think. Oh, that's close. Whew. That's, yeah, no, don't do that too much.
Yeah, definitely not. You can see the gap really just increasing between him and the leader, and that entry is going to get your heart beating, and that's going to... I mean, I'm not quite sure. Obviously, I cannot talk, but it could hurt his confidence through that corner. So we might see him losing a little bit extra time through turns 5 on the next few laps.
Do you see that up ahead? Just ahead of that neon yellow Radness Mercedes? Yes, that is a lap car, one of the McLarens in the field. In fact, that is Pablo Ferretti in car 34. Just about to go 1 lap down, so things are about to get a little bit extra spicy here at Road Atlanta. Throw in those lap cars for a bit of added flavor. You've got yourself one heck of a jambalaya as we get rolling about halfway through this race. Hicks with Parente just behind, and then it's a little further back to Ashburn in third. And I like what I'm seeing out of Teague, I must say. We've seen a kind of up and down career so far for Teague Ashburn in this series, but he's putting things together so far today. A podium run on the way as it looks like Ferretti gives way first to Hicks, and now should just about let Parente go on by, and Teague Ashburn will be next. And again, I really am very much impressed with car 871 today, really putting together a nice race.
Yeah, absolutely. He's doing a fantastic race. No mistakes so far. And just a solid race. You can see him catching up a little bit of Parente, who kind of got held up by the lapped car as they headed into the S section.
Really got
but
held
that's
up.
just
Lost a second and a half.
Yeah, but that's the nature of Road Atlanta. Sometimes you catch up those lapped cars at the worst time possible, and there's absolutely nothing you can do. You just sometimes have to go around them, and sometimes you just have to accept they're going to lose a little bit of time to the leaders. And obviously, one man's loss is another man's treasure. Teague Ashburn really caught up and might battle for second on the forthcoming laps, I guess you can say.
Headed to 10A, and you can see he's just been chilling in third. Literally every stat across the line so far started third, currently third, high of third, and a low of third. He has been third the entire race, and is just holding steadily. He was in third gear there for a second as he completes lap number 14. No, lap 14 on lap 15. This is right at halfway for these guys, JP. We're expecting 31 in this opening race, at least opening race of the day. This is literally coming up to halfway, 15 and 16, or 15 and a half, 15 and a half, however you want to break that down. This is halfway for these guys. There's a car off just ahead, and that, I think, actually, I'm not sure who that was, but we go on.
Yeah, absolutely. So halfway, so essentially what these drivers have done so far, you got to do it again, obviously, with worn up tires and less tank, less fuel. And Brian Long is coming into the pits. We saw a bit of fixing damage for him on the quarter panel right there, so maybe, Andrew, some drivers winning it. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we see 2 cars use a speaker as well. Could we see a new strategy coming up? Yeah, I think we might just see.
I think pit stops are the move for these guys. Brian Long gets back out there. A pit stop of 13 seconds, a .03. It's 36.31 in the lane. Here's Brandon Levier. Oh no. I know Mavericks was out there cheering on the race lab 88 of Levier, and unfortunately he has met his demise. That is a wadded up BMW.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, what was looking as a good race and even a good comeback race at one point looks like he might just finished. And I wonder, Andrew, was it down into turn 1, just going a little bit too wide on exit? Ooh, not quite. It got a bit lost. Oh, no!
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, wow.
That might have been Clarence Rosa turned around. I didn't really get a look at it, but Lovier nowhere to go there. No fault of his own. Somebody else was spun out in turn 1. And unfortunately, that car is absolutely demolished, destroyed, and what have you. Let's go up and see who that was. That was car 48. Oh, that was Grabowski, and he was just backwards as soon as he turned in and locked it down, admittedly. He did everything he could have done there.
Yeah, absolutely. Both drivers did, but unfortunately it was at the worst place, you know. That's the nature between turns 1 and 2. Just kind of go through the middle of the racetrack. And unfortunately, Grabowski was unfortunately just spun in. As you mentioned, locked it down, you know, held his brakes, did not try to rejoin the track, but unfortunately, he was just on a collision course.
One more look at it here as Grabowski gets absolutely slammed by Lovier, and unfortunately, man, yeah, just he zigged when he should have zagged. I think he thought that Grabowski would come back over to the left side of the racetrack, and he tried to stay left, and yeah, sometimes that's exactly how racing goes. Again, he zigged when he should have zagged, and that's a saying for a reason. As we continue on, though, inside now of 20 minutes to go, and outside of 20 minutes complete, David Hicks leads as goes by Joshua Benjamin there in turn number 3, putting that car 1 lap down. Parente is second, Ashburn third. That's not changed. Then you get down to Will Coffey and Lachlan Holiday. Here we go, battle for 5th, and Will Coffey's taken that spot recently.
Yeah, taken, and it looks like, well, it's not taken by a dominant fashion because they're still battling. They're approaching a lap car as well. Oh, he's driving. Yeah, okay. So Holiday needs to catch up to him to retain that 5th place. Oh, that was close.
He's not driving away anymore.
Yeah, not driving away. They're gonna go side by side. And while Holiday should have the advantage, no. Look at Coffey holding it around the outside. Unfortunately, the lap car kind of hinders him a little bit on the performance, and Holiday backs off and gets a bit lost mid-corner. Now he's driving away again, Andrew.
This is good stuff. Now, Will Coffey will be able to pull some legs here on the backstretch. Lachlan having to fall back a little bit. That lap car holding up a little bit. And Rob Rodriguez is next up for this battle. A couple of lap cars in between them, though. Rodriguez goes right to pass that lapped Porsche. And is that lapped Ferrari? He took a look to the inside of Lachlan Holiday. You never want to do that. I don't care what the situation is. If you're lapped, you never show your nose to the inside of somebody into a braking zone, but maybe looking just to make sure things were okay. You never really know. As we round lap number 18. Things are holding nice and tidy. But you know what is changed up front is actually the deltas to each of these positions, the intervals in the top 3. Hicks only has about a half second now to Parente, and look at that, Ashburn has closed up nicely to Parente and followed Parente back up towards David Hicks. So your top 3 should be a battle here soon.
Yeah, it should be a battle, and I bet you, Andrew, it was down to lapped cars. You can see Hicks getting a bit unlucky once again of lapped cars. Now is the time of Parente to get unlucky, and they're going to make contact.
No! Parente off the course. Wow. He's going to have to wait a while to get back on. He finally finds a spot, and that is car... Who is that, actually? Well, I think they've already told.
Yeah, I think it was maybe the 68 Mercedes. Couldn't really get a glimpse, but unfortunately, that was a bit of a bad call by the Mercedes, I dare say. Andrew had plenty of time on the back straightaway to essentially let 3 leaders go by and just go on by his race, but unfortunately made the wrong decision. But you know, that's racing. Sometimes it happens. Bad judgments happen all the time, and unfortunately ended up costing 2nd place race.
And let's keep in mind, this is the amateur race. There is a wide array of I ratings in this field. I've seen some in the hundreds. So drivers, they aren't always going to have the same experiences that we've seen. They haven't always seen the same situations, and there are certainly things to learn, and I think we just saw one thing for Daniel Harris to learn, as he is the driver of car 68. And yeah, certainly this is going to be one thing that a lot of people need to learn from. Teague Ashburn even collects a little bit of damage, but this is definitely something big to learn from for all drivers involved here, I think, because you do have some of the higher up guys that, you know, when they lead this field, they're at an I rating of about 2,000, maybe even a little higher, and you're racing against guys that are in the hundreds. So there is definitely a bit of a discrepancy there in field talent, and we know that. That's the point of it being an amateur race. There is a mix, and drivers have or have not seen certain situations. So it's a big learning moment for everybody involved, and hopefully that is the takeaway. Hopefully Parente can take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, his race is effectively turned over on its head, but things do happen.
Oh, absolutely. As you mentioned, it's racing. It's not bound to happen, but it will happen. T. Gashburn came down into the pits, Andrew, so he took a gamble, essentially, undercutting Hicks, trying to get that race lead, trying maybe to avoid traffic as well ahead, which is a really good strategy, on Road Atlanta. It looks like Parente came down to the pit lane as well, or
Did
just
not pit.
lost.
Remember, he had that spin.
No.
He's third now behind Era. William Coffey now in the fourth spot. I'm going to be honest. He got away with that pretty okay. Only lost the one position, at least at the moment. That could change, obviously. Is interesting. Just very, very interesting. Here we go. Leaders into the pit lane, almost leaders. Lachlan Holiday, Rob Rodriguez both in.
It's going to be interesting. And Andrew, I like having the battles down in the pit lane. I like seeing those timings a bit different. I like see drivers saving fuel. Looks like Clarence Rosa may have had a bit of an issue. He comes down pit lane as well. And the pit lane, Andrew, around Road Atlanta, it's one of the tricky ones.
Yes, it is. That's what I mentioned about when we were looking at the track map earlier today. It is a very tricky pit lane to get in and out of. There's not a whole lot of room at either spot. You've got just kind of bear off the racetrack very, very quickly as you get ready for turn, I guess turn 12 to get down to the inside there as you exit turn 11. And then when you rejoin the racetrack out of the pit lane, it's very much just a blend straight into the racing line into turn number 2. So you've got to be careful both sides of pit lane here as we take a look at our race leader by some 8 and a lot of seconds actually. Diego Era now coming to the pit lane. That would explain why that gap was very much growing.
Yeah, so it looks like the Mercedes of Hicks might just have a bit better fuel mileage than the rest of the competition. Obviously, he might as well be stretching that fuel tank to its maximum.
Maybe that's why he was checking up to let Parente catch him.
Could be as well, yes. Just saving a little bit of fuel any chance he could. And he was behind Parente for a few laps, Andrew, as well, so he could have saved a little bit extra fuel. We're just going to have to keep an eye out on those pit times. You can see Will and Coffey, 3, maybe 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 cars down in the pit lane. So this looks like be one of those busy laps down in the pit lane. You can see Coffey goes, then Parente 12.98 seconds. That's one of the slowest pit stops we've seen. You can see Diego Era 12.3, and he just comes behind Willis, looks like.
More pit stops underway. You saw Lachlan Holiday. Most of the field is now pitted. We're just waiting on David Hicks, Dan Willis, Nicholas Sykes, and a couple of others. Here's a look at Clover in the pit lane. We also have Winstone in car 37 in the pits, and a Ferrari, and plenty of cars in the pit lane. In fact, a lot of cars on the pit limiter. They're at 45 miles an hour. That's how you can tell that. Here we go. David Hicks in the pit lane.
So now we're going to have to take a look at his timer to essentially judge if he saved a lot of fuel, if he's going to be aggressive on the strategy, Andrew. We saw plenty of times in the NARL GT3 and even the Porsche Cup drivers being very, very aggressive on the pit stops, especially on the fuel. So we're just going to have to see how long his pit timer will be. We're looking for around 12.9, maybe even 13 seconds, but it could definitely be lower.
So David Hicks, when does he exit the pits? Oh, he started to get going there for a second. 11.9, that's not too bad. There's definitely quicker, and he's definitely banking on trying to undercut a little bit in the pit lane. Trying to underfuel the car, I should say. Brent Kingcott comes into the pits in an Audi. I like that we've got an Audi towards the front of the field, actually. Brent, definitely keep that up, please. Dan Wilson to the pit lane, Nicholas Sykes as well. There's a look at Willis in car 127. It's very clear what the idea here is. You get an open pit window of about 10 minutes, and you've got to pit it somewhere, somewhere in that window. So about halfway to 30 minutes to go in, or 30 minutes complete in this race is where these guys need to pit. And it's going to be interesting to see how that changes throughout the season, potentially. Obviously, certain racetracks more economical than others. Just look at that. One of the other Maradnes cars, another 11-second pit stop. Very quick and very aggressive on the fuel. Oh, it's already there off the racetrack in turn 2. Interesting look at that McLaren. But this could tell the tale of what Maradnes is going to do in this series, is be aggressive and certainly try and attack the fuel numbers. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see that. This just feels like an organization that they know what they're doing. They know they're good at it. And yeah, they'll make mistakes from time to time. You can see the little bit of damage there on Willis' car, but they are going to be aggressive with it. They know what they can do, and they're going to do it well.
Absolutely, especially a track like Road Atlanta with the massive straightaways, you can kind of just save a little bit of fuel by lifting and coasting near the braking zones, especially down into turn 10. So we need to keep an eye on that throughout the season. Obviously, tracks like, Red Bull Ring will definitely see a lot of fuel saving, but we're not there yet, Andrew. We're at Road Atlanta, so we might just see a little bit of that. Now we can see Parente chasing down Diego Arian, and he looks like he's on a charge. He looks very aggressive, taking in those curbs, and this will be a very, very interesting battle to follow.
Coming up on a lap Ferrari as well from the Miranda's E-Stars stable. As Diego gets backed up in turn 5, this is an opportunity for Parente to take a look. Looks right, tucks back in behind the BMW of Diego Era. And where does he go? He's going to go up the inside of 6. No, Diego hard on the brakes, gets right up to car 67. A McLaren spins just ahead. Wow. All right, wow, that was exciting.
Yeah, that was Diego kind of being held up by the lapped car over there. Really threw him off, but luckily for him, looks like he got a good enough exit to essentially defend from the time being. And this will be interesting. Who has the lags on the straight line? Is it Andrew Parente? Is it Diego Arias? You can see Andrew really closing in, but that lapped car is still on his inside. He cannot really go down there to go for a move, so Diego holds that position. Now we have a Lamborghini. Diego goes wide on 10A, but so does Parente, and they hold position, but the Ferrari got a better run on the exit, Andrew. We might see a move down into turn 1.
William Coffey headed the wrong direction. He just lost a couple of spots as you continue to watch this battle for the 3rd position. And Parente's got it to the inside of turn 1. No, he gives it back. Oh, that was an aggressive look to the inside of the first corner. It's maybe a passing opportunity if you have just enough of a run, but that time it wasn't going to work out. Parente saw that, back out of it. Will Coffey back down the pit lane. He had some issues that lap and may have caught himself a slowdown potentially, maybe even that right side. I think that tells the tale. He's got some damage. He definitely had it off.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like he may have already used his fast repair on his first stop, so unfortunately might not have an opportunity to fix that repair in time for the remaining of the race. But so far, these two, well, looks like they haven't had to use their fast repairs because, well, they're just going at it, Andrew. And once again, the Ferrari is on the slipstream of the BMW. You can see even more battlings throughout the back end of the top 10. Rob Rodriguez just a second away from Holiday on that Lightning McQueen Ferrari. Zachariah Rosa only, well, 3/2 of a second behind the Audi in front of him. And this is where we might see a move because he's extremely close to his competitor.
You could see an opportunity down to turn 10A. Of course, that chicane at the end of the straightaway is going to be a great opportunity. Yes, Rosar is going to take the right side and try and outbrake around the outside. Can he do it? The Audi of King Cot now on the inside, going to have to outbrake from a little further back. Does he get back to the apex? Yes, he does. He takes that spot back away. Does King Cot and hangs on to the 8th position. A great battle inside the top 10. And I think mirroring what we're seeing a little bit with Era and Parente ahead. Now, Era has pulled away a little bit, Parente falling back, but still a very similar battle in that these two are using the straightaways. And, you know, I think there's just good racecraft. They're using the straightaways effectively, not taking too many chances just yet. There's still 7 minutes to go. Don't force anything just yet. I like what we're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not seeing crazy moves, which is really, really good. And as you mentioned, we still have 7 minutes to go, Andrew. That's what, 4 laps to go?
We are looking at about 6 laps, maybe 7 to go in this race. Yeah, about 6 laps. And one car off. That's an Audi. I think that was, oh man, I already forgot the name. I think it was Tyree Phillips. And yes, that was Tyree Phillips getting back onto the race course. Good save there. He's only 1 lap down. Zachariah Rosa right back at it with King Cot here, a little bit wide in 7, and that gives up a lot of straight line speed. That's why you've got to be so careful and so perfect in turn 7. You've got to set up for this backstretch, and if you're off by just a little bit, it kills your run.
Absolutely. Obviously, he's going to have the advantage of the slipstream. He might close in on the last few meters, but I don't think he'll be close enough to essentially line up a move. Yeah, he's a bit too far away. He has to essentially hold back once again, so that is just a nature injury, especially down into turn 7. If you go too slowly, you're going to hit that curb, and the high curb on the inside will again kill your run because it will activate the TC. And if you just go too wide, you're just going to have to wait to get on the power. So you really have to be perfect throughout the lap to make sure you're close enough to the driver ahead of you so you can line up a move down into the braking zone.
So good looks here for Zachariah Rosar. Comes up over the crest following Brent Kingcott. Another driver to look at is Mike Braun back here in a Mercedes. He's trying to break the top 10. He's after Ilya Speaker potentially if he can get that spot. And Mike Braun, you can see as low as 27th in this race. That is one heck of a roller coaster. Much like these S's here at Road Atlanta. It comes back down the hill, and Parente's got a problem. Slow out of 7. And that car is destroyed.
My. Yeah, that's a lot of damage. And, well, unfortunately for him, what was once battling for the win, Andrew, and then for 3rd place, looks like his race might just be done on the final 6 minutes of the race.
We'll get a good look here. He was 4th place, chasing Diego there for the 3rd spot, trying to get back up onto the podium. Had an issue earlier with a lap car in turn 7. This time, out of turn 7, what happens? Tracks out, grabs the curbing, and the car just pivots right around and noses into that concrete wall. Heartbreak for car 93.
Oh, he's just going to be beating himself. A self-inflicted mistake that's ended up costing him his race. That's got to hurt, Andrew.
That's going to open the top 10, though, potentially to Mike Braun. So that might be what Mike Braun needed. And maybe that battle tones down a little bit, potentially. 10th to 9th, there isn't a huge difference between them. Obviously, if Mike can get the spot, he'll try and take it. But at the end of the day, it's nothing too crazy.
Yeah, absolutely not. And, well, unfortunately for the Ferrari driver, that's going to be his race over. But as you mentioned, opens up a lot of battle. You can see another battle between Holiday and Rodriguez, this one. So Holiday now up into 4th place, Andrew, 5 seconds away from the podium. But now he has to defend from the BMW right behind him to make sure he holds that 4th place. And with 4 minutes to go, well, it's going to be interesting. Either the Italian, the prancing horse is going to win, or the German manufacturer is going to rise and shine. And here we go, another 2 German manufacturers going at it for looks like 7th place.
Yeah, Brent Kingcott and Zachariah Rosar, the H just picked up a spot with the advent of Parenti being removed. So they're now racing for the 7th position. A couple of really good battles. In fact, 3 really good battles within this top 10. And then it kind of tapers off. There's a lot more space in between the rest of the cars throughout the field, but this could be good. Here we go at a 10B. Rosar maybe looking like he might have an opportunity. Comes up over 11, down through 12, a better line through 12, but is it enough to get him any spots? Well, any time here? Not really. You've really got to set that up at a 10A. You've got to be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Pinpoint perfect, millimeter perfect out of the chicane of turn 10. And unfortunately for him, it wasn't his lap. He's kind of running out of time, Andrew. And if you just keep waiting lap after lap, eventually those laps are going to run out and you're not going to be able to make a move. So he really has to, well, essentially try to line up as well as he can. And this might be an opportunity for him.
This is a good opportunity. Rosar is going to look left this time. It's the outside once again as Kingcott's going to protect down to the bottom of 6. He keeps that spot. Can Rosar get to the inside for 7? No, not quite. It's the Audi hanging on to that position. And that's why I tell you, the Audi is very, very difficult to drive, very potent. However, it's very potent in battles. So if you're able to use it to your advantage, if you're able to pull the reins in on that Audi R8, it's certainly beneficial to you. You've just got to know exactly what to do with this. Holiday and Rodriguez swap a bit of paint and swap positions here. Rodriguez uses turn 11, likely uses 10A to get on by car 96, a swap for P4.
Does a good job, and with only 2 minutes to go, he essentially just has to pull away and kind of just, run the race he was running before. He definitely caught up to Holiday, so now he just has to essentially drive away at this point, and Holiday needs to close in that gap once again. This battle is still definitely not over, Andrew. Kingcott still holding on, Rosar right behind him, and it looks like we still have, with just 1 minute and 50 to go, a few extra battles on the race course.
Just inside the top 15, we're on board with Eric Kulaga in car 166, chasing down Armando Bejaran, and this is a little more of a wide-out battle right now as Kulaga chases the Wahuka Racing machine, but still pretty good. A Ferrari on a Mercedes, they're pretty close, half second apart, and as we've seen, all it takes is a lapped car and maybe one botched corner for Kulaga to really pull, and especially if it's in turn 6 and 7, that's really going to open the door for Kulaga to have an opportunity, and of course Nicholas Sykes even isn't too far back for the position behind in 15th, so still a lot of opportunity here. The rest of the cars behind them relatively spread out, so this is the last really good battle on the racetrack, and it's just trying to shape up into a battle. Rodriguez and Holiday, they're still close. Let's take a look at it for 4th. Never mind, they've actually split up. Yeah. The delta right there changed. I think something happened in 10.
Yeah, maybe a bit of a mistake. You can see Kingcott still going a bit defensive, kind of shutting the door on Rosar on the final chicane. But look at the exit that the BMW has got, Andrew, on the final chicane. We could see a move down into turn 1, but looks like the Audi just got the legs on the exit.
From high above Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta in Braselton, Georgia, a look to turn 1. And Rosard's just close enough to put the pressure on, just close enough to fill the mirrors, but not close enough to make a move just yet, and you certainly can't do it here in 3. You've got to force the car ahead into a mistake. David Hicks, he'll come around and likely take the white flag here in just a moment. This actually could be for checkers. We'll find out very, very shortly. He's into the back end of the lap, so this could be checkers, actually.
I think it will be. Only 8 seconds. There's not enough time for him to go up and downhill, so we could see the number 20 taking the checker flag. Oh,
yes,
yeah, there you go, Andrew.
A short-lived white flag presented by Whiplash Simcams, and it is going to be a win for David Hicks and Maradna Z-Stars. Is Teague Ashburn coming across the line in just one moment for second place. Really, really stellar run for Teague in second. It's Diego Eda then in third. You go back to Rob Rodriguez. He rounds the corner with just enough of space ahead of Lachlan Holiday for fourth, over fifth, and it's Brian Long. How about that quiet sixth place? It's Brent Kingcott down to 10A one more time, defending over Zachariah Rosar. It's a two-way battle for the seventh spot, and Rosar unfortunately just can't quite get it.
Not close enough, unfortunately ran too wide. He's going to finish in 8th place just behind King Cod after a finale, a few laps of battling. EA Speaker is going to finish inside of the top 10, so a really good race as well. The number 07, Mike Braun, Andrew, as we mentioned, is going to hold off for 10th place. As you can see, the rest of the field, Will is going to finish ahead of Clover, who's going to finish ahead of Armando Bejarano in 13th place, Kulaga in 14th, and Skies in 15th. And what an opening race, Andrew. What an opening race.
That is a good way to get things started. 46 cars took the green flag, and it looks like about 37 of them, maybe 30 of them, came to the checkered flag. A few of those drivers, of course, exiting a bit early. Chris Winstone will be the final car across the line, and he will wrap this race up officially for us. There he goes. So, race number 1 for the amateurs out of the way. JP, let's quickly go on through your amateur race 1 results. Finishing first, of course, David Hicks, a stellar first run for car 20 for Maradnas. It's Teague Ashburn just under 9 seconds back. A little further back, of course, you find Diego Eda rounding out your podium. They're a really solid podium, really solid top 5, really solid top 10, I think, to get this season underway. Rob Rodriguez Jr. there in 4th. It's Lachlan Holiday 5th, and Brian Long in 6th. Brent Kingcott 7th, and that great battle with Zachariah Rosar came down to just over a half second. It's Ilya Speaker there in the 9th spot in car 6, and car 107, Mike Braun, will collect the top 10.
11th place will go the ways of Dan Williams, who's just finished 0.4 of a second ahead of Leon Clover. Armando Bejarano is going to finish in 13th place ahead of Eric Kalaga. Nicholas Kai is going to finish in 15th place ahead of Kerry Corcoran. There we go. 17th place will go the ways of Joshua Benjamin, who finished around 2 seconds clear of Andrew Karacheski. Clarence Rose is going to finish in 19th place, just ahead, I mentioned, 10 seconds ahead of Chris Winston.
Finishing 21st, you'll find the 115 of Sonny Brown. It's Milan Harris after his small issue earlier on in 22nd. Sean Patterson, we saw him have a spin. He'll finish 23rd. It's Chad Nobles in 24th. And Tyler Brown, Brandon Lovier with the heartbreak there in car 88. Tyree Phillips hanging on for a 27th. Dominic Angelicio in 28th. Kenneth Michael in 29th. And Pablo Ferretti in 30th. The first car 2 laps down. And unfortunately, right at the closing moments, we saw a few of those drivers, I think most notably Michael and Ferretti, spun around or slow on the racetrack in places. Just not a great way to get the season underway, but things to build on for Sebring next week.
Oh, absolutely. Adolfo Perez is going to finish in 31st place. Sahar Padilla is going to finish in 32nd. Chip Witt in 33rd. Joshua Tucker in 34th, ahead of Joshua Lyon. Andrew Parente, which we saw Andrew once was battling for first place, and at one point was battling for the final step of the podium. Unfortunately, is finishing 4 laps down. Cody Hatch in 37th, ahead of David Stevenson. William Coffey is going to finish in 39th, ahead of Jeff Castillo in 40th place.
Finishing 41st, you'll find the 22 of Alan Dobbs, who got a few good laps under his belt and unfortunately had an issue early. Daniel Harris finishes 22nd. It's Stephen Grabowski, 43rd. I think I said 22nd there, Harris. Anyways, yeah, they're in the 40s back here. Andrew Leitch there in 44th. It's Dean Kerr, 45th. Matthew Casey in that Porsche in 46th. Avon Dorsey, Philip Baderka, and Eric Staropoli do not make the call for the start of this race, and unfortunately do not make any laps in this one. So that is 40 minutes of racing done and dusted, and it looks like no drivers are checking in for an interview. So what we'll do, let's take a look first at the weather, JP. Let's talk about this. Let's see. At the end of the race, 72 degrees in the air, 94 degrees in the track. Keep those numbers in mind, and we'll see how that changes for the pro race. Let's also, in case anybody maybe has seen their driver finish up for the evening and is done watching for tonight, let's see some upcoming broadcasts here on the channel. Next week, we kick things off with BSR, British Sim Racers at Silverstone. Beginning a brand new season with them. We just wrapped up, in fact, at the back end of February, so it's going to be our first coverage in March with them and the new season of iRacing as well. It is still Miatas and TCRs for their season. Miatas on Tuesdays, TCRs on Thursdays, so they kick things off this time at Silverstone. It'll be 3 races in the UK, then 7 races over here in the States. I'm excited to share the schedule with you all there. Then Tuesday, of course, we have that double. We're right back to these doubles on Tuesdays and Thursdays now with the North American Racing League in the evening, 8:30 Eastern at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. That'll be a lot of fun, JP. It always is. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how the Porsche Cup cars do on I think, a circuit that a lot of drivers are going to be a lot more used to before we get things going again with the Outlaws Sim Series. They had a pretty good race last night at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. They're going to Atlanta Motor Speedway next week. That is going to be a lot of fun. Hampton, Georgia has a fantastic racing venue there, and it's on the older pavement as well. So if that's what, excites you about oval racing, well, there you go. Older pavement in Atlanta, that's going to be a lot of fun. That said, we are going to take a step aside for our quick intermission here. It's been a lot of fun with you in race number 1, our amateur race on the day, but we have to get ready for a whole 50-minute Pro-Am race with some of the biggest stars in the series in just a few moments. So don't change anything. In fact, just go grab yourself a snack. Fill this time by going ahead and getting a refreshment, grab a drink from the fridge, who knows, what have you, and be right back here in just a few moments for our Pro-Am race on PitStop TV. Welcome back to the virtual Road Atlanta, the virtual Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta to be exact, picking up that Michelin tire sponsorship very recently, and boy, this place is fantastic. Recently been remastered here on the iRacing.com service. It looks great. It certainly fits the part in every single way of what you need on iRacing for a fantastic sim racing venue, and of course, it looks the part not just in iRacing, but in real life. This is a fantastic track to visit. I've been across the street a few times over at the Lanier Raceplex, and man, I love this particular place in the world. It's one of my favorite places to go to be across the street from a world-class road racing venue, or across the street from a very historic short 3/8 mile oval down in Braselton, Georgia. It is exactly where any racing fan would want to be. Welcome back to PitStop TV and continuing coverage of the North American Racing League. Let's get right into it, right back into qualifying then for the pros and pro-ams. You can see vivid blue skies here in Road Atlanta. Let's go ahead and take, or at Road Atlanta rather, let's go ahead and take a look trackside. A couple of cars getting out there, and paints should be downloading here in just one moment. JP, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know we talked about weather. Let's just kick right back off with weather. It is a good bit warmer, more direct sunlight as one car goes off. That's your third place qualifiers so far. Juan Blanat in car 89. A lot of new names to get used to. The weather is certainly going to be playing a factor. It's going to be a good day of racing.
Absolutely. We saw around 5 degrees Fahrenheit of essentially temperature change between the start and the end of the amateur race. Andrew, by the look of the skies, I'm not quite sure if I'm expecting more or I'm expecting it to stay around 96 Fahrenheit, because it looks like it could get very, very warm.
It is definitely looking like a warm day here in Braselton, and you know what? It gets warm in real Braselton, Georgia, so I would not put it past the sim to get pretty warm here. Here's a look at Victor Miranda, so good in the Porsche Cup cars, trying his hand at GT3 here, and out on his out lap. We'll go ahead and tow back to the pit lane, and maybe just try and warm the tires, I don't know, but let's go through the field a bit more. Here's a look at Nathan Lewis, somebody that I've got a lot of experience with, that I know pretty well from the Nork iRacing series, has really made his ways recently on road in iRacing, and really has worked his way into a proper role with some really good teams. And I think he's worked with Vendaval at one point. I could be wrong there. He has figured this out, this iRacing thing out. It's just so good to see somebody from the same kind of circle do so many great things and come around and set another fast lap. He's 5th on the board so quick. You saw Andre Melchers go to the top of the board, and Lewis will pick up a 4th spot now in qualifying. There's a look at the BMW of Andre.
Yeah, Andre, we kind of used to him on the Porsche side. Obviously, a 2 weeks of bad luck. Looks like the BMW may be already a bit damaged, Andrew, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, it's just looks like just the paint scheme.
I think it is.
Is it? So, well, so he went fastest with a tiny little bit of damage. So if you weren't frightened by the team or the name, well, you should be frightened that he just went fastest with a bit of damage. You can see Bryce Rodriguez as well. And Andrew, if that is the Nathan S. Lewis that I'm kind of used to, I kind of know him as well, follow his progress, and boy, oh boy, he is quick.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in this series. It's always good to see guys that you know from random circles. I've enjoyed seeing the Pacific Sim Motorsport guys get into the Porsche Cup Series, and now we're starting to see a Norker, as we know him, or at least as I know him, getting into the North American Racing League. It's so cool to see the crossover. And speaking of, I've actually got some more crossover, because I've got a friendly team, a bunch of friends of mine, joining in on the 24-hour event, Cash Days at Watkins Glen, coming up later in May. And if that interests you, a 24-hour race at Watkins Glen should interest everybody. If that seems like your kind of thing, go ahead and go to NorthAmericanRacingLeague.com now and enter. You can get there because of the fantastic work that guys like JS Consulting, John Sedlak have done for the North American Racing League, joining Race Lab, Baradis, and Tam Livery in their efforts of support of this series. So qualifying, it's a little bit tame right now. Federico Godai in the 31 car has got a bit faster and is up to 2nd in a black Ferrari. Victor Miranda is 3rd. Then it's Nathan Lewis and Juan Blanat, and then Fabio Zamperlini that we saw for a brief moment in car 37. And look at that, Nicolas potentially Rubilar in car 7, top of the board.
By 65 thousandths of a second, so already stadium marker, just going faster. And it's really nice to see these names, just going faster and faster, which is really good to follow as we are looking at the number 76 of Ferguson. Victor Miranda goes 2nd, just 24 thousandths behind Rubilar, so a really good qualifying session for him as well. And Andrew, you talked about a few friends. I know a couple of these guys from, I guess, a personal side. You can say the number 15 of Gustavo Ariel in 8th place. Well, he's kind of a familiar face to me as well. We kind of ran a 24 hours on Project Cars, and we kind of just stumbled upon each other on iRacing as well. So really good to see other friendly faces. And well, judging by how close the field is, Andrew, we should expect an even better race than we just had on amateur.
Yeah, the average iRating in Pro and Pro-Am for this series, so the average iRating in Pro is 6,149, 6,149. I'm not even at 2,000 myself. The average Pro-Am iRating, 2,901. So when you've got the average Pro iRating over 6K, and when you've got the average Pro-Am iRating to nearly 3K, you're doing something right here. Everything is working right now in the North American Racing League. So much interest, so many great drivers. It is the series to come and run.
Oh, absolutely. And obviously, those big numbers, they just invite challenge. Obviously, when you see big names like Andre Melchers and Victor Miranda, Nathan Lewis, Gustavo Ariel, Fabio Zamperlini, when you see those big names, if you're a big name yourself, obviously, if you're confident and you want to participate, you want to beat those guys. So you kind of practice a little bit more. You put, your best on the race course. And that just brings, Andrew, at the end of the day, better racing, better challenge, and closer racing, which is exactly what we're seeing around here.
Only 2 cars left on the racetrack. Here's Mark Antonucci, goes up to 36th, as we've got 38 cars here in this Pro-Am race. It'll look at Pierre Irby as well, and car 145 out of Texas. So with these two about done for their qualifying efforts, let's go ahead and take this opportunity to look back at the racetrack a little bit before we get going. It is Road Atlanta. A lot of us, I think, know it, but there certainly have got to be some people maybe watching that are new. JP, how would you explain Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta to somebody who's brand new to it?
Oh, it's definitely a challenge. It's a roller coaster challenge. It's unforgiving. You really have to bring your A game. You really have to have track knowledge on this race course. Just putting in laps, knowing where to turn in. You mentioned, Andrew, on the amateur side, the entry of turn 2, you just have to aim for the light bulb, the light post. You just have to know those stuffs, especially on the blind corners that we have around here.
So the field will get ready to grid up, and it looks like, again, we've got 38 cars ready to go. Let's take a look through them all as they get gridded up. They're in turn 12. Starting on pole, it is none other than Nicolas Rubilar in car 7. One of the new names that we've got to get used to in a hurry, JP. I like seeing that, though. I like seeing a driver come in and certainly assert themselves quickly as one of, if not the best. We'll see what Nicolas can do from the pole. It's car 17, though, starting on outside pole. That's Victor Miranda, somebody that we know is very, very quick himself and is certainly going to flex some muscle. We'll see what car 17 can do from the outside of row number 1. Starting third, you'll find Andre Melchers, 2 wins over on the Porsche Cup side on Tuesdays. Yeah, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, starting from the 3rd position, already on podium as we start this race. Federico Godai starting from the 4th spot. Starting 5th, that's where we get Nathan Lewis. So good, again, to see Nathan in this series. And Juan Blanat will start from the 6th position. I think one of the quieter names that's up here in the top 10 that we've got to take a look at. Starting from the 7th spot, you'll find Fabio Zamperlini, former series champion, alongside your friend Gustavo Ariel. And starting from 9th, it's Matthew Dench for 5-Star Motorsport, alongside Neil Bledsoe in car 21.
11th place will go the way of Dominique Olivier in the number 99, in the number 16 of Nick Ludicky in 12th place. A name we're really familiar to. Really good to see him back just outside the top 10. 13th place will go to Daniel Ferguson in the number 76, and the number 12 of Hunter McDaniel in 14th place. 15th will go the way of Bryce Rodriguez in the number 124. If I'm not mistaken, Andrew, that might be the Pro-Am pole. In 11th place of Elliott White in 16th place. 17th place will go the ways of Martin Crisp in the number 56, and in the number 142 of Scott Reister, another name we're familiar, in 18th place. Row number 10 is going to start on the inside line with Aaron Folkerts in the number 132 and the number 218 of Pierre Thompson on his outside.
Starting from 21st, it's JS Consulting Zone, John Sedlak alongside of Scott Kimbrough. A couple of names that we know very, very well in this North American Racing League. Starting 23rd, it's Rodrigo Lepri. They're in car 182. It's Maria Blendea starting from 24th. Starting 25th, you'll find Jose Antonio Ramos Lopez. Good to see Ram Racing back with car 108 and alongside his car 112 of Reed Gibson. Starting from 27th, you'll find Paulo Godai there in car 193, and it's Blake Scott starting from 28th. To finish out your top 30, it's Mike Galbraith and Lucas Souza, 122 and 106.
31st place will go to Justin Sang in the number 88 and the number 166 of Mark Scott in 32nd place. 33rd place will go the ways of Pierre Irby in the number 145 and the number 216 of Mark McDonald in 34th place. Row number 16 will go the way, row number 18 will go the way of David Flanagan in the number 130 and the number 116 of Mark Antonucci is on his outside. 37th place will go the way of Bobby Flack, the number 105 and the number 173 of Brian Zinn in 38th place. And Andrew, that's 38 drivers around Road Atlanta, and looks like they're all ready to go as we are already bunching up and we're not even halfway down the back straightaway.
Yeah, this field is ready to go. These are the big guys, the big guns. These are the heavy swingers. They are ready to go after it for 50 minutes of racing. We're expecting 39, maybe 38 laps. Again, pace defines that. And certainly it's going to be around 40, 35 to 40 laps today with that pit stop somewhere in between. When do you make that pit? We've seen all kinds of strategies in this series before. We're waiting on some more to take form today. One more look at the track temp before we get going. 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Yep, it's getting a little bit more toasty as we head to the midday here in Braselton, Georgia. We are ready to go racing. Look at the wind out of the west as well, starting to pick up at a sustained 8 miles an hour. You can see the trees moving around in the breeze, certainly just swaying, and they are also ready for some racing. Once again, 38 cars ready to go after it. Nicolas Rubelar going to lead us to the green flag. Victor Miranda will start from second. Starting third, it's Andre Melchers. Fourth is Federico Godai, and they are all ready to go racing at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Green flag on the season. Already a bit of contact, and Matthew Dench goes around in front of the entire field from about the 10th position. A few cars tangling up, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them.
A lot of cars tangling up on the exit of turn 3. Unfortunately for them, one of the closest, spots you can have for racing. And unfortunately, lap 1, that's going to happen. Matthew Dench, unfortunately, having, the worst luck he could possibly have down into lap number 1. Well, Andrew, at least he's still running. As you can see, the rest of the top 5 really going at it. I saw Victor Miranda lost second, third, and even fourth place. He's down in fifth, if I'm not mistaken. And, well, a bad start for him. You can see that top 6 kind of breaking away, and then 2 more groups, and then we'll have the rest of the pack.
Headed down the back stretch and into turn 9, over the hill there, and ready to drop down to the turn number 10 for the first time. Here we go. The entire field headed down to that tough braking zone. A pass there for position on Fabio Zamperlini. Had to give that spot up to Dominic Olivier. Wow, just good stuff. This first lap, 3 wide to 10A, and they get through. The Maradnas car taking point.
Really bold moves already early on in the race. You can see the rest of the field making their way through 10B and down the hill into the final corner. That's just one lap, and you're ready to do it for, 30 more times, as we have a car looks like already going down into the pit lane. I'm not pretty sure if that was a penalty or maybe just repairing already early damage, but the leaders are very close. Rubelar just, 0.4 of a second ahead of Andre Melchers.
Oh.
Yeah, that's threading the limits. That's what you have to do to keep up the pace, because these guys are going crazy, and the top 2 has kind of broken away from Nathan Lewis in third place. Already a second separating Melchers from Lewis.
I have missed these Lamborghini downshifts. That's just such a good sound when they pop that backfire into turn 6. For example, we'll hear it again on the onboard with our race leader, Nicolas Rubelar. Down to turn 10, it's going to sound good, and I'll shut up and let you guys hear it. As Zamperlini does lose a few spots. He's slow out at 7, but just listen to this into the braking zone. I love Porsche Cup racing, but hearing that sound is a little bit better in my opinion. That is such a great downshift. Here's a nice little battle we've been seeing kind of develop. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, yep, the whole lot of them as they come over turn 11 and through turn 12.
Goddard, you can see defending from Victor Miranda. Melcher sets the fastest lap of the race at 117.155. And this battle is going to be crazy to watch. You can see Fabio Zamperlini just holding, trying to get past. And that's a big battle. We're going to have a battle down into turn number 1. Almost contact between the two BMWs, but they all make it through. And, well, you can see that's just going to kind of just bunch up the field once again. Fabio Zamperlini trying to find any way sort of past the front Lamborghini, the front BMW just ahead of him. And I do correct myself. That was not Fabio Zamperlini, Andrew. That was Daniel Ferguson.
That was Zamperlini in the battle. That is Zamperlini just ahead. So you're right there. Similar paint schemes, I can see why you get confused. But that is Fabio Zamperlini. So you weren't confused as they work down to turn 6. Listen to this, though. For you guys who have strong ears, you're listening to the motors. Listen again. Well, maybe not there. You can hear the clutch going in car 76. Ferguson already saving fuel, and you can just hear that as the motor quiets down, the clutch engages, and the revs drop. They're doing that to slow the motor down as much as they possibly can. I know a lot of iRacers will go on and on about how it's only throttle position that affects your fuel mileage in iRacing, but that's simply not the case. You can get fuel savings out of putting the clutch in and coasting. It does replicate that. This is, of course, a motorsport simulator. It's not just throttle position. That carries most of the weight, but also putting that clutch in is going to help.
Absolutely, that clutch is going to help to reduce also engine braking down the main straightaway and, well, just save more fuel. And Andrew, that's already the name of the game on these pro races. You know, early fuel saving, already less than 5 minutes in the race, and drivers are already fuel saving, thinking about that strategy. And obviously, if you're the driver punching the air like the number 7 of Rublar just ahead, you're going to be in a little bit of a deficit. And obviously, if you're Nathan Lewis, just 1 second behind Melchers, do you push a little bit to try and catch up to number 25, or you just run your race, accept a little bit of that third place for the time being, and think about the fuel strategy?
It's a great question, and I'm not a race car driver for a reason, as Gustavo Ariel has a nice little battle with Juan Glenat side by side, and Ariel is going to have the spot for full-time esports. Haven't seen a full-time car in a little while, but he has got that 6th position for car 15 over the Audi of Juan.
A good position, aggressive close of the door there, and down into 10A and 10B. He gets that position. Currently running in 6th place, what looks like 2 seconds behind Victor Miranda. So if he wants to catch up to the top group, he really needs to put the pedal to the metal, and, well, hopefully he can catch up. Obviously, if they start battling up ahead, Andrew, that's going to slow them down as well.
Andre Melcher is starting to put some pressure on the car ahead. That's Nicolas Rubelar leading. Andre starting to get ever so closer. Definitely using all the curbing there in turn 3, turn 4, and even down the S's. Curbing isn't something you always want to hit here at Road Atlanta just because it absolutely can get the car unsettled, but if you know what you're doing, you can use it to shift weight pretty quickly and to get 1 quarter of the car or the whole side of the car potentially to load up quicker and take on that weight a little more quickly and actually grip up. So these guys are using it to their advantage. They're doing the right thing, but it can get a little bit tricky. Popping those curves to the inside, the outside, doesn't matter where he is. We even saw a car, in fact, Andrew Parente lose it out of turn 7 in the previous race, just catching the curbing ever so slightly, and the car went around. So you've got to be careful. Let's look deeper in this field. Let's go on board with Paulo Gadai following Hunter McDaniel, and he gets hit. Oh boy, who hit him there? That was Reed Gibson, a shot in the shorts.
Bit of contact down into turn 7. That's definitely going to hurt both of them. A little bit of damage may be carried out. You can see both of them drag racing the same car, Andrew. This is all about the exit and the slipstream. And at this point in time, well, it's 2 BMW side by side with 1 ahead and 1 behind. This is a full-on BMW sandwich.
It's BMW Cup almost out here as Reed Gibson takes the spot for turn 10. Scott Reister's in a nice little gaggle ahead. Oh, Scott Reister's crashing into the tires in turn 11. There was smoke ahead, and I noticed he was losing a couple of spots. And, well, that explains why. He is in trouble waiting on the entire field just about to come on by. We'll wait for him to get rejoined, and then we'll pick up a replay of what just happened as Scott will finally get a chance to, just clear that wall, and he will get back after it well down the running order in position 35.
And that's the disadvantage of just running such a close field. If you have any sort of incident, you're just going to have to wait for all of them to pass you. And here we're going to have an interesting view. And you can see Andrew, once again, this is essentially a BMW Cup with a few other well, manufacturers. That is the lone Ferrari, and looks like a line of BMWs. He's gonna look down the inside into 10A. He's gonna go deep on their braking. Yes, he goes side by side. A bit of contact there in the middle part, and maybe even more contact. No, he just drops it on his own.
It was Fabio Zamperlina that he had contact with at 10A. And let's watch this one more time. I'm interested to see the actual onboard here with Scott. So he's going to set the move here in turn 9. That's where he really, he hits the draft down the backstretch. And this is classic Road Atlanta, right? You get the run on the backstretch. You're able to move out and go one way or the other. And it looks like Fabio gives him the left side of the racetrack to get into the corner. And he does exactly that. Scott gets down there and on exit just washes out a little bit of hip check. I don't think anything really was done wrong there. And then just washes out. Yep, got some of the curbing. And, man, he gets some of the grass out there. He goes for a spin.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, just a self-inflicted wound. And unfortunately, that's going to cost him a ton of positions. As you mentioned, down in the 30th. So,
35th.
Fortunately for him, 35th. So, yeah, unfortunately for him, really costly mistake. And, well, up ahead, Andrew, it's more of the same. Nathan Lewis is not really catching up. Maybe he's just on that window, that 1 second, 1.2 second window where he's benefiting from the slipstream. And now we're going to take a look at how much Andre is saving up. And, yeah, it just goes, well, he goes really early on the clutch, doesn't he?
Did you see the RPMs drop down to the 1,500, 1,400 range? Yeah, these guys are saving big time in these GT3 cars. I love this. I know a lot of people don't like fuel mileage racing, and I get it. Nobody wants to just see guys in a train saving fuel, but it takes such finesse, it takes such skill to do it just the right way and get every last drop out of these fuel tanks, and I really love that aspect to it. It's not easy. I know a lot of people don't like it. It's not as exciting as watching these guys beat and bang for an hour or so, but I really do enjoy these fuel mileage races. I always have, especially in the NASCAR Cup Series, for example. But here we go. Here's a look at Nick Ludicky, somebody we've seen a lot of in our time here on PitStop TV with GT3 racing in general, and even Porsche GT3 Cup car racing now with Pacific Sim and, of course, North American Racing League on Tuesdays. But Nick is in the 9th position, a little further south than I would have expected at this point in the race. 10 minutes in, and he's made it in a few spots, but only 3.
Yeah, quiet start from Nick so far, but obviously, Andrew, as you mentioned, it's a fuel mileage race. He might just be taking very, very easily, and with just the right amount of fuel saving and a gamble on the pit stops, he could get these 2 positions right ahead of him, so we could see him up into the 7th position, maybe even higher if he has the pace towards the end of the race. Obviously, maybe even tire consumption could come in tire wear. Not quite sure if it's going to be that much of a factor on these GT3 cars, but it's definitely a possibility.
He's got a little bit of left front or right front damage there. Could have just got that popping some curbing, especially in turn 5, but it is worth noting. Scott Kimbrough in a nice little battle. This is further back. Rodrigo Lepre, I know some fans out there for Duck Hawk Racing and Rodrigo are in the chat. Hunter McDaniel as well. Let's go on board with Hunter in car 12 and watch this battle take place.
It's going to be a really good, essentially, camera angle to see just how difficult it might be to essentially follow the car ahead of you, especially when you're so close. You really have to know the bearings of the racetrack, especially around this section, Andrew. It's so easy to either miss that apex or essentially cut it to the point where you have a slowdown penalty. So really, precision driving is what you need, and especially down in this, well, this section, it's just really tricky. It has caught up so many drivers, even on Petit Le Mans.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so difficult. It never gets easier.
And here's one of those fantastic TAM liveries that I always like talking about for Scott Kimbrough. This is easily one of the best looking cars in the entire field every single week. It's so simple, doesn't have any sponsors or anything on it, just that little bit of Empire Racing insignia on the nose and the rear, but it just looks so good. Tam, you did a good job with this one. I'm always going to try and shout it out in these races. It's just such a good looking car. TAM Livery is, of course, an official partner of the North American Racing League. Certainly recommend heading his way if you need an iRacing paint scheme. He does some great stuff. He's got a Twitter, he's got a Facebook. Check out TAM Liveries along with the other partners here of the series. Of course, you can bring up RaceLab, top of the screen, racelab.app. It's completely free to use, as well as Moradness, which is a coaching service, and honestly a big community. You don't even have to get the coaching service. You can just join their Discord and be a part of that big community following Daniel Morad and his sim racing endeavors, along with his real racing endeavors. As, of course, I mentioned Tam Livery and JS Consulting handling a lot of the back end here for the North American Racing League, handling the website and all of that kind of stuff. And John Sedlak, of course, races as well in Car 203. So a lot to talk about here.
Definitely a lot to talk about. And Andrew, we still have 37 minutes of racing. Can you believe that? Only 13 minutes have elapsed.
And in those 13 minutes, you can see this guy, John Sedlak, I was just talking about him, up 10 positions. That is hustling. At the beginning of this race here at Road Atlanta, he is certainly working his way through. He's almost into the top 10, but he just have 5 seconds to go to Bryce Rodriguez to go ahead and get that spot. And we haven't even mentioned the fact that this is a Pro-Am race. Sedlak is second in Pro-Am competition right now. Bryce Rodriguez is first. Let's watch this battle, though, as Martin Crisp is going to take the spot away from Sedlak, and he will drop down 1 spot into 12th. And it looks like Daniel Ferguson may try to do the same. Let's talk about the Pro-Am leader, though, is actually, well, hang on, Sedlak takes a look. Now let's go ahead and take a look at your Pro-Am race leader, Bryce Rodriguez. I was actually surprised to see his name on the Pro-Am side of the entry blank, to be entirely honest with you. Battled for a championship in GT3 a season ago, but the iRating qualifies him as a Pro-Am, and he is here leading.
Yeah, leading by quite a big margin as well. Running his own race, isn't he? Just 3 seconds behind Nick Ludicky and, what, 5-6 seconds ahead of his closest competition, which is Crisp and John Sedlak. So, running his own race. And Andrew, could we see this season what we saw the previous season of the Pro-Am and, well, the Pro-Am drivers, you know, them just having these, you know, amazing races where they're just, you know, are a highlight of the race, especially around the top 10, because we all know how close the pro drivers are and how tight that field is. So seeing a Pro-Am snatching in one of those positions is always amazing.
I think he's going to have some big runs in this series. He's already looking really good, and this is a really stacked pro field, and he is sticking it to him a little bit in some of these battles. I mean, again, the pro average iRating of the drivers entered, and that's not necessarily saying the drivers in this race, but the drivers on the entry blank as a whole, 6,100. That's big. For reference, let's see, Andre Melchers, who's second place right now, he checks in at a 95.94, leading the way for the entire series. Gustavo Ariel is sitting at 95.39. 9,600, though, for Andre Melchers. Let's go ahead and call it 9,600, as Gustavo sits at 95.5. It's just over 9,000 for Nathan Lewis. Daniel Ferguson checks in at 8,256. Marcos Nunez Perez, who's not here tonight, at 8,000. And how about this? Nicolas Rubilar, who's leading this race, he's actually a little ways down the order, 7,691. That's his iRating, and certainly iRating is not a full indicator of speed, but he's definitely, I think, fighting above his weight class right now.
I love how you mentioned, you know, just a little down, just over 7,000 iRating. It's a bit crazy to talk about that, but it's just the level that we're gonna have to get used to, Andrew. 95, 9,600, well, that's just gonna have to be. And when you're 6,000, well, you're a little down. You're punching below your weight level, which is above your weight level, which is really good to see.
And at the bottom end of the pro class, it extends all the way down to 4,000 iRating. Max Wobbles for Scuderia Chicken House. I don't think Max is actually in the field tonight, but Fabio Zamperlini, he checks in just ahead. Fabio is actually one of the lowest iRating drivers in the pro class, JP, and he's got a championship. He won season 1 here in this series. It's insane how the competition has picked up and has certainly met and extended the reach of this series, and it just really picked up the competition here. Fabio Zamperlini, a former champion, is the second lowest iRating driver at 4,039, and Matthew Dench, also very far down on that list. He is sitting at 4,100 at time of registration. That's third lowest, so that's just insane.
Absolutely insane, and we know how quick these guys are. We definitely know it. They were fighting for the championship. Obviously, Fabio came up.
Matthew, 2 seasons in a row.
Yeah, exactly. And Matthew Dench, unfortunately, did not have the best of starts to his championship. Unfortunately, bad luck kind of still follows him, doesn't it, Andrew? He had a lot of bad luck on the first season, and well, hopefully this is just, well, the bad luck that he has in the season. The first race on the first few corners. Hopefully, if the rest is just uphill, as you can see, even more battling. And look at this, 3 different manufacturers battling for, well, essentially one position. This is great to see.
Brian Zinn in that green Mercedes, followed up by Mark McDonald in that silver Ferrari. Then it's a red BMW with Justin Sang, David Flanagan back here in a black Ferrari, and Reed Gibson in another red BMW. Really good battle towards the midfield. In fact, this is 25th, 26th, 27th, 29th, and 28th, and 29th on the racetrack. 30th is a little ways back. That's Blake Scott. This is really good stuff as they fight into 10A. And car 216, Mark McDonald, oh, he's getting aggressive.
And he's getting very aggressive. He's already looking down the inside, and he's going to have that run. They're going to go side by side through the final corner. None of them are going to lift. They almost door bang. The Mercedes gets a little bit. Looks like the Ferrari had to lift, actually, because he's going to lose a position to the BMW down into turn 1. So from attacking, he loses a position. And oh boy, this is great racing, Andrew.
And just about 20 minutes into this race, pit stops. They're going to open up. When do you pit? Do you pit as a result of how your battle is going, potentially, to just get out of your battle, take a clear mind, potentially, or use it as an undercut? So certainly some options on the way as these guys battle again. This is 25th on back, and this is how good the racing is. Let's check in with Aaron Folkerts and Paulo Godai. This is for 21st. Folkerts in the 132 just ahead in the 21st spot, and Godai, the chasing car, there in 22nd.
It's also a good battle, 2 BMWs, and you can just see the top 20. That's Pierre Thompson, if I'm not mistaken, just ahead of them. So a really good battle, just 0.3 of a second away. And I wonder if Paulo is also saving fuel.
Yes, he is. Or he just heard the clutch go in.
There we go. So even saving fuel. And I'm going to bet, Andrew, I think we're going to see the last few drivers coming down in the pit lane at around the 15, well, I'm going to say 13-minute stop. That's going to be when the last driver dives into the pits. And I expect that to be either Melchers or Miranda.
That is not at all far-fetched. We've seen these pit windows be extended week after week in Porsche Cup and in these GT3 races. It just seems like as these guys keep racing, they keep pushing the limits further and further on the fuel mileage. And yeah, exactly. It's just, yeah. I like your guess there of about 13 minutes to go. That seems about right as we see a battle now with Daniel Ferguson and Martin Crisp. This is for 11th on the racetrack, just ahead of John Sedlak, who is 2nd in Pro-Am. Rodriguez still leading the way in Pro-Am. 3rd in that class is Rodrigo Lepre, and I know there's some fans out there of this Duck Hawk Racing driver, car 182. Again, 3rd in class, and he is 16th. We don't usually see that kind of a gap in the 2nd class in these races, but we're seeing it today. A lot of pros are stacking the top end of the field, and look at that. Matthew Dench, a move just behind these guys as Lepre is going to get overtaken, and Matthew Dench goes on by Scott Kimbrough. So a couple of pro drivers passing, a couple of Pro-Ams right there simultaneously.
Yeah, absolutely, and that livery by Matthew Dench, the 5-star motorsport livery, is kind of just striking, isn't it, Andrew? We're kind of so used to seeing that on the MX-5s and also the touring cars, which is just kind of getting used to seeing it on a GT3 car. But Matthew Dench trying to put, well, together a comeback race, and he's doing really well so far. If you consider he was spun around, well, just here on lap number 1, and he's already in the top 20, currently in 18th place. It's a really good comeback race, and he still has over halfway to go.
Everybody still has so much racing to go, but it already feels like so much has happened, including up here for the race lead. That said, no position change for these two. It's still Rubilar over Melchers, and this is going to be good. Whenever these two decide to battle, whenever Andre decides to actually bring the fight to car 7, and again, you know what? I'm going to use the line I used on Tuesday. It may not be a fight on the racetrack. That may not be where the pass for the win takes place. That might not be where the battle for the win goes down. It may be in the pit lane. We've seen that time and time before. It's a matter of how much fuel Melchers is able to save, and hey, he's been sitting in 2nd this entire race, and Rubilar obviously knows exactly what Andre is doing back there. He's waiting. He's saving as much fuel as he can. There's not a whole lot you can do about it if you're Nicolas. All you can do is back him up to Lewis and try and hope for a battle. That didn't work. Now you may as well try and save with him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the strategy that Rubilar is using, just trying to save as much as you can. Obviously, it's not going to be anywhere near what Melchers is doing. And Lewis is kind of in the same position, Andrew, albeit he is kind of running his own race. As you can see, Miranda just holding off, trying to defend from Gustavo Ariel. And what I didn't expect to be seeing is Miranda essentially falling away from Godoy and allowing Ariel to catch him. So I'm not pretty sure if they're going to be doing a little bit of teamwork to try and catch them back up again.
He's drafting right now is what he's doing. He's using that lap car to his advantage.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's gonna try to defend it and using a little bit of extra speed to maybe, well, just save a little bit extra fuel. But I wonder if Ariel is gonna try to overtake him, maybe to try and catch up to Godoy and Lewis. It's gonna be interesting on the next few laps to see what exactly the number 15 does in comparison to the number 17.
We'll see if they do anything. Just up ahead, you can see Federico Godoy and Nathan Lewis relatively close for third and fourth. And then Miranda and Ariel very close for the back. Juan Blina and Dominique Olivier for 7th and 8th positions. And outside the top 10, you get Daniel Ferguson, Martin Crisp that we saw a little while ago. Ferguson is taking that spot away from Martin Crisp. The next good battle is Hunter McDaniel, followed up by car 83, Matthew Dench.
It's another battle. Matthew gonna try. Well, has another target up his sides, Andrew, and I'm pretty sure he'll take it as soon as the opportunity comes. Look at that run. He's already getting lots of confidence on that BMW machine. Matthew obviously looking really good as usual. Good pace for him, and unfortunately, just bad luck keeps following. And now coming down into the S section, kind of just stuck behind it. Not absolutely anything you can do around this section, but if he gets a good enough exit out of this corner, we might see him move down into the turn 6. Might be a possibility.
No, I think he's going to stick behind him, and really, you got to set up in 6 and 7. Just get a run out of 7. It's going to be a whole lot easier. I think when we get down later in the race, you might see some moves in 6 and 7, but what you've got to do here, if you're Matthew Dench and you really want to pass him, set up for turn 7 and get out of turn 7 as quickly as possible. Pull some karting moves and straighten out that apex and get back on power as quick as you can. Otherwise, sit back and draft right now. Why wouldn't you? Make sure you can come out ahead of these guys and potentially even latch on to a battle ahead. I don't think you push too hard right now if you're car 83. That said, here we go. Sets up for turn 10. It's exactly how you do it here at Road Atlanta. That is exactly how you make a pass. Textbook there from Matthew Dench.
Absolutely perfect, and he just, well, drives on by. It looks like he got a good enough exit to maintain that position down into turn 1. These two looks like they're still going at it. Ariel is definitely going to be saving more fuel than Miranda, but we saw Andrew, number 17, going really aggressive on the fuel strategy. So if he tries to do the same today, we could see him close back up to Lewis and Godoy by the end of the pit cycle, but we could see the number 15 doing some really good inroads after those pit cycles.
On board with Gustavo, P6 currently for car 15 and full-time esports. Listen to the motor. He didn't clutch in there, but he lifted and coasted for just a moment, so still saving deep into this run. They've got to save all they can get here and get it just go I think as far deep into this race as you can. And I like changing things up. I like trying to go against the grain when I'm in a car, when I'm racing, but I think what it comes down to in these races, and we'll see what you think in a second, JP, is at the end of the day, as much as you might want to change things up and not just do the same thing as everybody else, you've got to run this car as far as you can, run on as little fuel as possible in that first run, and then again as little fuel as possible in the second run. So you only want to put on as much as you need, maybe add a half lap, because you can save a little bit then, and you're kind of cutting the difference in case the race gets extended. But then if you go as far as you can and only put in just what you need, the car is lighter. So on these straightaways that are so important at Road Atlanta, it's a lighter car. And I think at some tracks you can kind of get away with pitting a little bit earlier. And in fact, Aaron Folkerth is in the pit lane about halfway in this race. But at Road Atlanta in particular, Daytona would fall into this category as well. Sebring might next week. You've got to make sure you have as light a car as possible for these straightaways. So if you do get into a battle, you can use the full effect of this slipstream. And look at this! A pass with a race lead. Andre Melcher is tired of sitting around. Maybe he has hit his fuel number. Maybe he comes in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. We could see him, well, essentially just pulling away. Does Rublar come into the pits? Yes, he does. So there we go. Number 7 coming down into the pit lane, already undercutting. I was going to mention, Andrew, in my opinion, undercutting around Road Atlanta might not be, my preferred option, just of how small the track is, because you stay stationary for what, 32, maybe even 40 seconds? The whole pit lane, is around 40 seconds, so that's pretty much 2/3 of a lap. So if you're standing there by 2/3 of a lap, you might end up catching traffic, but looks like he's not undercutting a lot. This looks like might be one of the laps that the pit window allows you to come in, and we're seeing a lot of action down in the pit lane.
Martin Crisp, John Sedlacker in. Looks like Rodrigo Lepre as well in car 182. Pierre Thompson in the pits. Now, Nicolas Robillard, 18 18.03 in the pit lane, or in the pit box. That's 40.03 in the pit lane. That compares, interestingly, to some other drivers that have finished up their stops now. Bryce Rodriguez, you can see there, that's going to be a much longer stop. 2 extra seconds in the box and about 2 extra seconds in the pit lane. So already Nicolas feels like he saved enough fuel. And to be honest with you, I don't necessarily doubt it. He was very clearly not ever driving away at all from Andre Melchers. That said, Andre had the draft. He had the slipstream. So it's hard to say exactly how this one goes, but you can see the lay of the land already being set.
Absolutely. Obviously, these guys up in the front, they'll gamble more on fuel as well as looks like the rest of the field, the rest of the leaders. Well, sorry, the rest of the leaders just come down into the pit lane. And, well, everybody just comes in. I don't think there's a single car not in the pit lane. And look at this, Andrew. This is the slowest race we have seen, but it's still very exciting.
Victor Miranda pulls into his pole sitter pit box. Just about everybody comes in. Everybody is coming in. I think maybe tighter fuel restrictions are forcing the hand of these drivers. We've seen the Porsche Cup guys go a little bit longer. Ferguson kept going. Melchers will win the race off of pit lane here. Victor Miranda, much longer in the box. Or I think, yes, a second longer actually. Interesting the way that worked out. So Andre Melchers, let's see. For him, it is 18:02. Nicolas Rubelar comes out just behind him, so you can see the effect of that pass. 18:03, the tightest of margins there. And the pit lane time, very close as well. That is as identical as you can probably get. 2 separate pit stops. Lewis comes out tentatively in the 3rd spot once everybody cycles through. That's 18.5 in the box, 40.86 in the lane. Godiah a little bit longer in both. In fact, a longer lane time. Gustavo Ariel picked up a lot of time. Victor Miranda just behind them. And one car is off. Who is that actually? That might be a lap car. In fact, that is.
Yeah, so a few drivers, Irby, it looks like he went really wide, a 19-second stop. And obviously, we just saw Ariel jumping Miranda, so we had that switch up. It looks like Ferguson is the last driver to come into the pits. I'm not quite sure if this is him, actually. This is the number 75. Yeah, it is the number Ferguson. So he is the last driver. He's going to lead a lap. He got a great mileage out of that BMW, Andrew. He was hyper-miling that car. And now the question is, could Rubelar essentially just drive back? That gap is really big between him and Melchers, 1.3 seconds. So that was all done on his out lap, and obviously Melchers in lap. Paulo Godoy as well coming down into the pit lane. So only 2 cars elected to go 1 extra lap. Ferguson does a 17.7 stop. That's really quick as well.
That's the quickest I think I've seen so far. One of the few in the 17. So Ferguson playing his hand nicely, 17.72. And just under 40 seconds in the pit box as well. That's the only lane time I've seen in the 30s. So really good stop out of Ferguson. Godiah there, 17.68. What's he got for the pit lane time? This could be the best we see all day. Pit lane time, 39. Oh, well, into the 40s. So the lane time wasn't great, but the pit box time was fantastic from Paulo Godiah. And interesting. Very, very similar strategies across the board. We have not seen much difference with this lead battle. I would have expected at least a little more variance. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously now we have a bit of a gap changer, but that fuel game might just go out of the window. Obviously some drivers that may have, just, I guess, batted, obviously, just took a risk on fuel. Those drivers might have to save a little bit, but, most of them, I doubt are going to have to save a lot of fuel, and we might just see these cars going, absolutely, just qualifying laps till the end of the race. Still 20 minutes to go. Plenty of racing to happen. It's bound to get really, really exciting.
As the latter stages of this race kick in, just under 20 minutes to go, a reminder of our crew today. Big thank you to JP Costa, as per usual, with these North American Racing League races, just checking in from Brazil and giving us his fantastic voices. My goodness, Gustavo. JP, you might have to radio down to him and tell him to take it a little more easily there in turn 5. That was close. And a big shout out as well to Emerson Arden, checking in today for social media duties and doing a fantastic job, which brings me to my next point. If you don't yet follow us on social media, you should do so. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, the whole lot of them. Even over on Twitch, you can watch our broadcasts in 4 different places. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And you can follow us on social media at 3 different places: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We really, really do appreciate it. Fuel saving even now for Gustavo Ariel, by the way, as we're on board with him. Please, by all means, follow us on social media and tell Emerson Arden that he's doing a fantastic job with the pictures, the captions, and everything else over on socials. Really cool to bring you guys this coverage while we have the broadcast happening, and of course, weekly posts out there as well. Yeah, it certainly goes, I think, farther than you guys ever know to go ahead and get that follow, that like, what have you, the subscription on YouTube, what have you. It really does mean a lot to us here at PitStop TV. Inside of 18 minutes to go now, as Gustavo Ariel comes back over turn number 3. And really, this is the only battle, and he's even not that close to Federico Godai right now for 4th. Everybody's pretty spread out, JP. Actually, the next closest is Fabio Zamperlini hunting down Elliott White in car 11. This is for 14th.
It's going to be a good battle to follow. You can see Fabio Zamperlini already looking kind of down the inside of turn number 1, so he's looking really racy. He definitely wants that position for the time being. And, well, it's a BMW versus a Lamborghini, Andrew. Two very different cars with very different characteristics, very different driving styles required for both cars. And that's something that really caught my eye. You know, Melcher's obviously running the BMW, Rubilar running the Lamborghini, Luis Ariel and Miranda as well on the BMW, but Godai on the Ferrari. So Rubilar and the number 31 of Godai really on two completely different cars, which is really interesting to see them, you know, allowing themselves to have that challenge. And obviously you can see the driver ahead of Zamperlini White also running a bit of a challenge, running the Lamborghini. So it's really good to see this variety, and I'm pretty sure it's welcomed by each and every single driver, and even by you, I'd say.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of things to look for in a race, and I think the North American Racing League has it all. Just every single time, like I know a lot of people, they want these classic wheel-to-wheel battles and everything that ends up making the highlight reel year after year, but I like these thinking games, these brain games in the race as a lap car will peel off into the pit lane. I like the variety that we've got so often with the North American Racing League, with NARL. It's just so good to see differences in races, and you never really know what to expect. You know fuel is going to be a factor every single race, just like it is in every race ever, but proper variety week in, week out, you never really know what you're going to get. Now, I do see a car just in the background of this battle in 16th spot, Matthew Dench is worth talking about. We've talked about Matthew a few times already. This is not what I would have expected out of Matthew or Fabio, but this is, again, that adjustment to, you know, I guess the perspective of iRatings of the drivers in this pro class from 9,600 down to 4,000. That's the spread right now, and that could only grow as some of these drivers maybe keep racing on the iRacing.com website on the official races and get a little bit of extra iRating over these next few weeks. Of course, that could absolutely change. These three cars, though, in a line in pro, and a weird tangent, actually. I mentioned in pro, well, Bryce Rodriguez is leading in ProAM over John Sedlak by some 7.5 seconds, it looks like, and third place in that class, Scott Kimbrough mired all the way back in 18th overall, as Zamperlini makes a move here on Elliott White into turn 10.
Gets a move done. Looks like Elliott White will try to get that position back on the exit, but looks like it's not close enough, nor did he get a good enough exit. Scott Kimbrough as well trying to make moves up ahead, but looks like he's not kind of stuck, but just following the BMW just ahead of him. And Andrew, this is going to be the last 15 minutes of the race. Is this the time to attack, or you just wait a little bit till the final, what, 6, 7, 5 minutes to the race?
This is where you've got to start sizing guys up. Now, we don't see a whole lot of that up front, but we do see Scott Kimbrough here with the chance to follow Hunter McDaniel. This is for 16th overall. And if you're Scott, again, you size Hunter up. You see if you can actually battle with him, you see if you can hang with him and to potentially get that spot. And oh boy, Matthew Dench into the pit lane. This is pit stop number 2, unfortunately. Actually, this is pit stop 1. It says, I think this will say pit stop 2 in a second. It misses his box, and he's got some right side damage. He just had it off.
Big damage, and it looks like he already used, unfortunately for him, well, that's going to be his second bad luck. I wonder, Andrew, if he had any help, maybe just avoiding a little bit of contact, or was this all on his own? And also wonder why it happened. Right side damage on Road Atlanta. It's kind of difficult to get. Did he get on the pit entry, maybe?
It's into the dirt right there. Just like Scott Reister, ran out a little bit too wide, and yeah. Another heartbreaking story there for Matthew Dench. Things just do not go his way, it seems, on the iRacing.com service, at least not very often. Unless we're racing at Phillip Island, it worked there. And Oh boy, look at this. For our race leader, Andre Melchers. It is, well, I don't even know what this is called, but this is a lot of lap traffic. Going on by car 173 there. This is going to get fun.
I'm going to quote Yuki Tsunoda from F1. This looks like traffic paradise for Andre Melchers, because he has a lot of cars to navigate. You can see flashing his headlights to essentially warn those drivers and to make sure he loses as little time as possible. Obviously, these guys, Andrew, are racing as well. Obviously, some of these guys have a bigger gap than others, and he looks very, very racing, going really close. You can even see braking lights, so the different space is clear. Oh, that was close.
This is David Flanagan just ahead in car 130. Where does Flanagan move? He's got to get out of the way at some point. I think after you hold him up in 3 like that, you've got to get out of the way. There was an opportunity up the hill to turn 2 and 3, and even now, no effort to move. Now, you don't necessarily need to pull off and come to a stop here, but I think after you hold the driver up, you know, give him a breather of throttle on the straightaway at least, and give that driver, especially when it's the race leader, an ease of access by. He's already cost Melchers at least a half second to Nicolas Rubelar. This is definitely an issue at this point. The blue flag, I know, is just a warning that a car behind is approaching and is faster, but eventually you want to be nice to that driver. You want that favor to come back to you at some point, right? So, yeah, Flanagan ends up giving that spot now away to Andre Melchers. I say spot away, gives right of way to the leader.
That was well over a second. He ended up costing Melchers, and looks like even more. I'm not quite sure if Melchers has a bit of a slowdown penalty, because Rubelar is catching up quite a lot to these 3 drivers. Whoa. You can see maybe a slowdown penalty. I don't think it is, but Rubelar kind of, I'm not pretty sure if he just pushed that Mercedes, or was it a self-inflicted wound, but we saw Mercedes going a bit wide, and I'm not quite sure who that is. But Andrew, at this point in time, Rubelar has the same challenge that Melchers had, well, just 1 lap ago, to essentially pass that lapped car. But now you're going to take a look at what happened to the Mercedes. And is this leader's frustration, you can say, or was this, you know, just a mistake on Brian Zinn's part?
Let's watch this whole thing back. The Melchers pulls left there of Flanagan. This is from the TV cameras. We watch it from the onboard at first. And Melchers right down into the braking zone, takes that spot away. Nice stuff there. Now, what in the world happens for Brian Zinn? That's the question. Something happens. I'm not sure. Okay, I think Melchers was trying to block that potential to race right there. I think there's some bad blood right, and even there's some swerving, blocking there. Now Zinn checks up for all of that, and up the inside goes car 7 of Nicolas Rubelar. That's just aggressive racing at that point. The leaders are getting bunched up with lap cars, and unfortunately Brian Zinn catches the innocent backhand in all of that. I do think if you're David Flanagan, maybe try to be a little more courteous to the leaders next time. I think there's always learning moments in racing, no matter what level you're at, and hopefully that's a learning moment.
Oh, absolutely. And obviously he was just racing, but, you know, at one point, you just saw a good example. Melchers just got past a lapped car who decided to give away to him even before the S's, which is not 100% what you need to do. Obviously, you can just run the X's and just exit on the exit of turn 5. But, you know, it's good to have, you know, I guess not even sportsmanship, you know, just heads up driving. Sometimes you have nothing to lose, so might as well let them go. And Victor Miranda, who I was looking at the gap, really, you know, had lost a bit of pace to Ariel. He's really closing in
this pass
on the
was
back
recently
end.
made.
Wow,
Remember, Ariel was trailing, yeah. Ariel was trailing, has now gotten this spot, so...
no, but he got on the pit lane.
I recall him coming out, regardless. This is sorted out to where Ariel is now ahead in 5th place. I thought it had sorted out to where Ariel exited behind Miranda, but hey, race cars are race cars. They're going around here for 50 minutes, and they all start to look the same in a whole lot of different ways, but... This is the closest battle we have in the top 10. This is the only battle we have in the top 10, and it's stringing itself out. Ariel has found something recently, and he is definitely setting sail. He's gone by almost a second now over Victor Miranda, and I wonder if Victor has to save some fuel. Maybe he's not hitting his fuel numbers. It's starting to look short, and oh, one car goes off. That, I think, might have been, is it who I think it is? It is the Ford. No, Blake Scott. Oh. All right, so a bit of yellow on that car. I saw the yellow. I thought that was the 48 car again of Grabowski, but no, that was Blake Scott in car 167. I think Grabowski was actually in the amateur race. Like I told you, race cars, they blend together after 90 minutes of racing. They all start to look the same in some ways. Blake Scott goes for a slide in turn 1, gets it back gathered up, and he will rejoin. He is down in position 29, so not the greatest start to his season, but a lot to build off of. Unfortunately, his father is down in 38th.
Yeah, not a great start for the Scots, but as you mentioned, it's just the start of the season. There's plenty of time, to build that momentum back up, and once you get a good momentum, you're really going to make up a lot of roads, and you're really going to score a lot of points. Now we're on board with Rodrigo Lepri. He's chasing Paulo Godoy, so Andrew, I'm not quite sure if Rodrigo is Brazilian. Is this a Brazilian battle we're watching?
We can check, actually. Paulo Godoy definitely is Brazilian. And Rodrigo Lepri, I would imagine so. I gotta find Rodrigo on the entry list. And yes, it is a Brazilian battle. A couple of your guys out here.
There we go. So the name really sounded Portuguese, but obviously can be from anywhere in the world. So a good Brazilian battle. Obviously, this is not only gonna tackle points, Andrew, but also bragging rights. It's always good to finish ahead of your fellow countrymen. As you can see now, Nick Ludicky trying to chase down a few drivers ahead of him. 2 BMWs, 1 Lamborghini. Unfortunately, the Italian manufacturer on the middle of a German sandwich, but looks like the Lamborghinis, Andrew, are really strong, and I dare say they are the second strongest manufacturer that we have so far, at least on this race.
Well, I mean, of course, the Lamborghini is on that same Audi R8, base chassis, and it's on the same platform, and obviously that has the same Audi V10, has a decently similar chassis. It's a different Audi R8, so it falls into that same category of if you can harness it. If you can harness that potential, yeah, you're gonna have a good day, but it's certainly going to bite you in the rear a couple of times on the way. So you gotta be ready to hang on to that bull as it bucks, right? I think that's more of a horse bucking, but you get the point. You've got to be ready for a proper bull ride on that Lamborghini, and hey, it works for the guys who can handle it. I love the race car. I just can never handle it very well. And the guys who are able to use it, like Nicolas Rubelar, who is second place and led the entire first half of this race and then some, for those guys it works out, and they obviously are quick, as you can see Elliott White had a chance there at Fabio Zamperlini inside of 7 minutes to go and almost down to 6 minutes to go. Time is running out. Now, for context, this battle is for 13th, 14th, and 15th on the racetrack. Fabio in the 13th spot, Elliott in the 14th spot here in the middle, and that trailing BMW of Nick Ludicky in 15th. Elliott White, I think, is starting to look a little bit anxious.
He definitely looks racy. He's looking for any sort of spot, any sort of opening to get that place back, and well, it's definitely a challenge to overtake. You can see Fabio just ahead of him, kind of just, I wouldn't say he's feeling the pressure, but he definitely looks to be at unease in this position. Obviously, 5 minutes to go, you want to hold off that position for as long as you can, hopefully until the end of the race, and we have a car in the tire barrier.
Just saw Ludicky following, and he had a problem over the top of the crest that we didn't even see from the onboard, and Ludicky gets back on out of the state of Ohio. It's kind of an Ohio kind of day for him. It's just not going well. Let's go ahead and get a replay. As big problems for the Vendaval Sim Racing driver, car 16. He's been so good in past weeks in the Porsche Cup Series. He's certainly shown so much potential in races that we've had the pleasure of covering. I mean, he's got onto Vendaval now, which is a fantastic big sim racing team. It carries a lot of weight being a part of that Vendaval name. So definitely has put some great things together, but unfortunately, it's just not your day, and I think it's just not his day today.
Yeah, absolutely not. I wonder where this mistake happened. Was it on the
he started to roll up to Elliott White.
Yeah. He was loose on entry, looks like. Maybe he broke a little bit on the grass and the car got a bit upset. But yeah, unfortunately for him, Andrew, I don't know what Ohio nights mean, but, well, I guess it fits.
He's going to come down to the pit lane now, get some damage repair. It looks like, oh, no. And slams that wall on the right side, trying to come into the pits. So worst gets, well, it's already going poorly. It gets even worse there for car 16. And big problems for Nick Ludicky. An okay day, and it started out even better. Kind of went okay, has gone pretty poorly for Vendaval's own Nick Ludicky there. So pretty unfortunate run for him, but Up front, you get right back to car 25, Andre Melchers, who is just sailing away with another race win. He opened things up in Porsche Cup with a win at Hockenheim, and it looks like he's going to open things up here in GT3 racing with a win at Road Atlanta. Very different racetracks, very different cars, very different series, very different fields he's battling against, but there is one constant, and that is the absolute insane speed on car 25.
Absolutely. He's not on the league of his own, but he's definitely, you know, he's just really good. You know, there's no going around it. He's just one of the best there is on iRacing, and it just shows, you know, the performance that he does week in and week out. Obviously, he has its offs, you know, all racing drivers do. Formula 1 drivers have it, you know, not all the time, but they definitely do. Looks like Godoy and Drew just had an off by himself because he dropped 2 positions to Ariel and Miranda. So, unfortunately for the Ferrari driver, from 4th place, he dropped all the way down to 6th.
Yes, the Federico going to have to get back after it now. Dropping out of range for a podium. Nathan Lewis looking like he's got a pretty safe way to get to a podium. Imagine that for Nathan Lewis. That's so cool to me to see. And Federico, unfortunately, gets the shorter end of things. Will fall down to the 6th spot. With a chance, though, at the top 5, he can get up to Victor Miranda here. And would you have ever expected, seeing Victor Miranda's name on the entry blank for this one, that he would potentially not even finish top 5 first race out? I mean, it's just not been a Victor Miranda kind of day. He's usually so quick, and he's been there, certainly, but just hasn't had that same kind of race-winning it factor that we've seen out of him a couple of times in the Porsche Cup cars.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of expected it after the qualifying session. He qualified in 2nd place. I kind of expected this to break, I guess, that curse that he hasn't won a race yet. At least on us, on Call Andrew. I'm pretty sure we might have the commentator's curse on the number 17. But it, unfortunately, as you mentioned, wasn't his day. Kind of just off the pace a little bit. Running a solid top 5, which is really good. Is really good for the championship. He just needs to hold this position for the, 2 laps to go? For the next 3 laps? And then he'll be golden. Yeah,
we should be getting white flag very shortly. This is turn 10 now. It's going to be close. We're going to go for 2 to go, it looks like, right here with Andre Melchers taking the signal from the flagman here. And Miranda and Godoy, a nice little battle. Godoy with an insane send to try and get that 5th spot. Has to sit back out of it. And, oh boy, that was a really big chance. And now maybe a connection issue for Andre Melchers after taking 2 laps to go. No, don't tell me that Andre Melchers is going to lag out of this race, lose connection, and lose this race.
I'm speechless.
Let's just verify that there was no issue where he might have just disconnected that quickly. Let's first go back and try and find the move here with Federico. This is important for the 5th position, potentially now for 4th. So let's see this and then go to Andre Melchers. Big move there for Federico. Pretty run-of-the-mill for Road Atlanta. And then Andre, that's the last we've seen. You've got to be kidding me.
That's heartbreaking on the 2nd to last lap, Andrew, as well.
He had just taken 2 laps to go. I can't believe it. But you know who really can't believe it? Nicolas Rubelar. 30 seconds, inside of 30 seconds to go, he is going to exit this lap and take the white flag presented by Whiplash Simcams. Insane turn of events. He was out of it as far as the win. He was well back of Andre Melchers. Now it's the white flag for Rubelar, and 0-2 changes to 0-1 on that position indicator. Can Lewis maybe do anything? Can Lewis get close in case of a stumble out of fuel?
It's definitely a possibility. Will that happen, though? 1 lap to go? I don't think there is, but the chance is definitely there.
The chance is there, and that's what we've got to talk about. It is white flag as well for Bryce Rodriguez, leading in ProAM. Now, he's in turn 10. He'll end up over turn 11 now, so he'll get the white flag in just 1 moment. John Sedlak, 2nd in ProAM, and 3rd in ProAM, going currently the way of Scott Kimbrough over Paulo Godoy and Rodrigo Laprie, finishing up that top 5. Nicolas Rubelar, it's starting to get closer. Nathan Lewis is getting close. He's going to have just a chance to draft up, maybe. Oh, I mean, it's not going to be close enough to do it, I think, purely. Yeah, no, not enough draft here out of turn 7, but it's going to be just close enough. Is that 7 car going to stumble at all on fuel?
We saw that happen to Victor Miranda in Daytona, but I don't think it will happen to the Lamborghini of Rubelar on Road Atlanta. And
I think
Andrew
he can coast home from here, up over the hill for turn 11. And Nicolas Rubelar just enough, stayed just close enough to race leader Andre Melchers when he lags out. It's a win for car 7. Wow, the craziest turn of events I've seen in a while, at least as far as a race leader. Andre Melchers, dominant on the day, ends up losing the race in the closing moments. Unbelievable.
Absolutely unbelievable. Heartbreaking. Wow. Honestly,
yeah.
I don't think there are any words to describe, Andrew, other than heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. That's exactly it. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine how Andre Melchers has got to feel right now. He had some blinks throughout the race, certainly showed that the connection wasn't totally there, but he always came back, and you're always wondering when you see that, is he still going to be in the race? Is he going to blink out? Is he going to drop out of the race? To have it so close and ripped away from him, that is the worst. That is absolutely the worst. That's going to be a tough one for Andre to swallow, and really a tough one for us not to talk about for 7 more weeks. And that's only going to make it worse for Andre, I know.
Absolutely. That's going to sting in the morning. He had 2 weeks of bad luck, Andrew, on the Porsche Cup, and now with 2 laps to go, lagging out.
And it's not just losing the race, it's dropping all the way down. Andre is going to finish, let's see, 32nd
32nd. So his drop week is already done.
Yeah, here it is.
It's week number 1, so he cannot afford any other mistakes throughout the season to, well, essentially fight for the championship. We all know how close the points are and how costly a DNF like this is to your championship.
Well, that is the way the cookie crumbles. That is the way things go for Andre Melchers, unfortunately. 32nd after dropping out, losing connection in this race as the race leader. But if you're Nicolas Rubelar, you just got the first checkered flag of the season, and I can only imagine the elation in the number 7 camp. We will take a step aside as per usual. Congratulations in order as well for Pro-Am race winner Bryce Rodriguez. Battled for a championship in Pro last season, and he is here with vengeance, looking for a championship in Pro-Am with this new stacked field. It's going to be interesting to see what car 124 can do this season. Don't go anywhere. More coverage on the far side of a quick little break here at PitStop TV. It's the North American Racing League, brought to you by Race Lab, Moradness. Got to thank Tam Liveries and JS Consulting, and we'll be right back.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of 2 products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to the virtual Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta, Braselton, Georgia, home to two of my favorite racetracks, one a road course, one an oval, but today it was Road Atlanta in full focus for race number 1 of the North American Racing League GT3 season number 3. We'll get right to it. Post-race interviews now on the way. We're going to start off with your Pro-Am race winner, Bryce Rodriguez, car 124, picks up a W to start things off, and he's alongside with JP Costa.
So Bryce, what a start of the season you had. You won the race, you finished inside of the top 10. Talk us through it.
Yeah, didn't really put in too much practice beforehand because usually last season, we had an hour, but my dad actually, me and him are using the same rig and he's an AM, so I only had about a few warm-up laps before I went out on track. And then I think my best lap was on the first one, and then I was P12, I think, and then I saw Scott Risser behind me, and I didn't really know I was on pole until I kind of was told. So then first lap, going through first couple corners, and then turn 3, someone, I guess, spun, and somehow I just went right through. And then for the rest of the race was just in no man's land, really. I was watching the gap behind. Towards the end, the tires got a little bit iffy, and then pit stop was fine, but kind of a boring race all around, but it was a lot of fun. This track is really a handful, but it's really fun.
Absolutely, and with only a couple laps of practice, I mean, it's really impressive the result you had. Can you talk us through what, the BMW, why did you choose it over any other GT3 car?
Yeah, so actually going in, I wanted to use the Lamborghini just because, I love that car and I've never driven the BMW till this week. I feel like it's very good over curbs. It's pretty stable. It rotates a lot better than I expected. And the speed, the acceleration is very good. And a lot of other drivers seem to be using it. But I like it. I think it's a quick car.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely is. Definitely seems to be the preferred manufacturer throughout the field, as we could, well, essentially tell from the broadcast. And obviously, you know, starting off the season so well, how do you prepare for next week?
Same way I've always been, just practice as much as you can, learn every inch of the track, learn the corners, and, just take it day by day, just focus on what you're doing, and just try to improve every day, and then, see what happens on race day.
Absolutely. Well, with the little practice that you put in, Road Atlanta seems to be working. Hopefully you can put more practice into the next week, and well, it can be even better. But before I let you go, Bryce, and let you focus, who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Bryce Evolution, also my website, Bryce Evolution, and the racing team, evolutionracing.org. Might be looking for people next season because I currently don't have any teammates, but you can check me out there, posting hot lap guides every week and race highlights, and that's pretty much it.
Well, absolutely. Well, thanks for your time. Just want to let you know that I absolutely love your YouTube channel. I started following it last season. I love it. Keep it up, and hopefully we can talk to you next week.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll see you guys soon.
Well, Andrew, that was Bryce Evolution. Bryce Evolution. That was Bryce Rodriguez, not Bryce Evolution. But yeah, he looks confident. A little practice, and he still managed to come out with a win. A really good race for him.
It is a really big win for him to start this season off, and it comes over a guy that just kind of seemed like he was falling one or two cars overall, just a little further back. John Sedlak, first time I think we're talking to you, and it is a big day, my friend. Second place in Pro-Am to kick this season off, and it was a quiet race for you as well. You had a few moments early on, battling with a few guys, but as the race wore on, it seemed like it quieted down.
Yeah, for sure. It was just, get through the chaos off the start in turn 3, sort of Hail Married through that, and from there it was just settling in and trying to hot lap as best as I could.
Of course, it's really, I don't know the word exactly, difficult. It's a mix of difficult, interesting, and chaotic to open up a new season every time, because you get this influx of drivers. Everybody tends to show up for the first few races, and maybe then a few drop off, but you have so many drivers, so many new drivers, that you haven't raced around all of them just yet, and everybody's maybe a little bit rusty. Obviously, you guys have the Porsche Cup now to keep you guys somewhat informed, but there's still a lot of new happening all at once. Unloading for the first time. How do you attack that as a race car driver? How did you attack that today, and what differences did that make today versus race 8?
Yeah, definitely. I think the big difference for me today was that I hopped on early. I did an IMSA race and I did a VRS race before coming on here. So I was dealing with chaos in those races, and was just making sure that my mind was sharp coming into this one.
And in one of the many BMWs in this series, it seems like that's definitely the car of choice right now. How do you try and work against the other BMWs? Obviously, you're in the same car as a lot of the other drivers in the field. There's still a few Ferraris to get through, a few Lamborghinis, but how do you try and kind of work against the same kind of car where you don't have the car differences of seasons of old, where you might have a mid-engine car that's a little more sketchy through the S's, for example? How do you try and work against that?
Yeah, I actually spent most of the week in the Porsche. So my goal was to drive the Porsche. And obviously last minute I chose the BMW because I just, I found that I could get the consistency and the pace out of it that I was struggling in the Porsche. So, today was not about trying to be different. I think it was about blending in, putting in the hot laps, being consistent, being clean, being smooth. And it seemed to work out.
I absolutely did. This is a fantastic start for your season. Tell us about what's on the side of your car there, though. Pitwall.io, what is that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm developing an endurance application that hooks into iRacing, tracks your fuel, gives you stint information, shares data with your teammates. And I got actually William Coffey is using it, and a couple of my teammates on Scuderia Chicken House are using it. And it's been a slow development, but we're getting there.
There you go. That is really cool. So pitwall.io, got to keep that one in mind. John, congratulations on a second place finish tonight to open up this season with a whole lump sum of points against the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Does that fit today? Congratulations, buddy. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
John Sedlak picking up a really good finish today, JP, and that gives us an opportunity then to meet up with our overall and our pro race winner this evening, Nicolas Rubelar.
So Nicolas, obviously, you started off the season the best way possible. You got pole position, and then you ended up with the win. Talk us through your race.
Oof, well, actually, it was really intense from just the start of the race. I had two options for the race, or it's either push or save fuel, and I decided to push from the start, and yeah, I tried to build a gap and make my race, because I have like a really tough opponents behind, and I think I look strong on the race. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about how it results.
Absolutely. Obviously, you got pole and you started to push away. After the pit stops, were you still pushing, or are you saving a little bit of fuel, maybe gambling with that fuel mileage?
No, actually, I was pushing, because I did an early pit stop actually, and tried to make an undercut. And no, actually, I was really pushing at the time, and then tried to save some fuel with the traffic.
And obviously, at the end of the race with 2 laps to go, you saw the leader essentially disappearing from your screen and gifting you that win. What was your reaction when that happened?
Actually, it was shocking at the time, because I was really pushing, like having Andre Melchers in front. Like I really want to. I didn't want to win like this way, because I really want to have a fight on the track. But yeah, it's actually shocking for me that Melchers got disconnected.
Yeah, obviously it was a heartbreak for us as well, and I cannot even imagine for him. But obviously you were also one of the few drivers, I guess the only driver in the top 6, the overall front group, that is running the Lamborghini. What made you choose the Lambo over the BMW?
I mean, overall the Lambo saves good tires, but it was actually a risky decision, because I saw everyone on the Beamer, and then I was on the Lambo, and it was like, oh, wow, I'm the only one here. But it was I was looking it forward for like the end of the stint, because on the end of the stint the Lambo was actually really strong compared to the Beamer on my hands. But yeah, it was a risky decision, and it paid off.
Definitely did. Obviously, looking towards next week, how do you practice for a race? How do you approach a new race, especially on a new championship for you like this?
Well, actually, it's pretty much doing kilometers and kilometers on the same track. Because at least for Road Atlanta, I had a really long practice session, like 10 hours straight, basically, driving on these conditions, and I tried to set at first a good lap, and then using the Ghost, I tried to set a stint following the Ghost, trying to not make mistakes, and that's how I practice basically.
Oh, see, that's a really good insight. I will definitely use that when I come back to iRacing. But Nicolas, it was very good talking to you. I want to congratulate you on your win. But before I let you go, who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out?
I'd like to thank everyone that follows me on social media, my team that it's our Natch competition, and yeah, my family who supports me and watch the streams.
Oh, absolutely. And with that being said, Nicolas, I hope we can talk to you next week. Best of luck in practice, and well, see you soon.
Thank you, guys. See you.
Well, Andrew, that was Nicolas. Obviously, our race 1 winner. An excellent start of the season for him, and well, he looks confident for next week. We're just gonna have to wait and see if he can put out more of the same than what we saw today.
And with our race winner talked to, spoken with, and out of the way, that means we can move on down to car 27. Nathan Lewis was chasing Nicolas Rubelar and Andre Melchers all day long. And first of all, Nathan, I did not expect a Norker to come on through, but how about 9,000 iRating these days? It's good to see you.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, we've gone away from the racing with you in the ovals in Newark, and now we're road heavy, and yeah, this was good fun. The race was it was good fun.
It's really cool to see you in a league like this, building up with so much talent that's come on through, and it's definitely stacked the top side of the grid. First, I want to know how you found out about North American Racing League. Second, I gotta know, tell us about yourself and the team that you're on these days.
Yeah, so I found it from the forums. I think Scott there sent out PM, and it brought me interest, because oh, this is something different, and so I signed up, and then yeah, the team I'm currently on is obviously BS Competition. It's one of the top road teams in iRacing, and I'm one of like 14 current active true sim racers, and we compete week in, week out with Redline and Kwan does, so it's always good fun.
And obviously, this is a pretty wild season, a whole lot of variety through and through. 8 really different races. How do you attack next week at Sebring? It's going to be a night start into a morning finish, and then the rest of the season from there.
It's obviously with having the choice to change cars each week, so it's obviously initially is to do a few laps with each car, what car I think is the best, and try to adapt to what car I will get the best speed out of. And obviously next week I'm already planning to run the Audi, because the BMW is a bit slower there than what it is around Road Atlanta, so it's going to be a good change.
Well, there you go. So how do you play that car game? Obviously, BMW Cup today, and I'm sure it's going to change up a little bit throughout the season. What are you looking for specifically in a car?
Well, I'm mostly looking for what car does the quickest lap time, and obviously doing about an hour each, it gives me a good rod of what car I think I can get the quickest lap time. And also here is, like, for example, the Lambo is really quick, but it's a bit tricky car to drive, so I chose the BMW because it's just easier to get that lap time and be more consistent. So it's just about how I feel confident in the car, and also what car can bring the best speed.
Well, Nathan, it's a big start for the season for you. Second place, and certainly going to set you up pretty nicely in the points. Best of luck this season. Congratulations at a second place, and I'm going to have a whole lot of fun seeing Car 27 out there each week.
All right, thank you, Andrew.
With Nathan Lewis finishing second place this evening. Again, it's just so cool to see somebody that I raced with years ago in a totally separate league and setting work on through the iRacing.com sim and the atmosphere, I guess, the community, and work into a really cool situation. Just so cool to see. And that's why iRacing is so cool. I could go on for hours about that, but let's just get down to race results. Nicolas Rubel, our first place tonight, 23 laps led. Nathan Lewis second after Andre Melchers drops out with a router reset, it sounds like, and heartbreak, certainly for car 25. But that promotes each of these guys up a few more positions. Gustavo Ariel there in third place. A top three, a podium there for him. JP, that's pretty big. Victor Miranda in fourth. Juan there in the fifth position in car 89. That is Federico Godai in sixth place. Dominique Olivier in seventh. Daniel Ferguson 8th, Bryce Rodriguez with that Pro-Am win in the 9th spot, and Martin Crisp nabs the top 10.
Looks like 11th place will go the ways of John Sedlak, who you spoke to, Andrew. Fabio Zamperlini is going to finish 12th. Elliott White unfortunately could not get a pass on Fabio, finishing just 0.8 of a second behind him in 13th place. Hunter McDaniel is going to finish in 14th place ahead of Scott Kimbrough. Paulo Godoy is going to finish in 16th place, leading the other Brazilian of Rodrigo Lepri in 17th. Pierre Thompson is going to finish in 18th ahead of Aaron Folkers. And Jose Antonio Ramos Lopez is going to finish in 20th place. And, well, that's a top 20, Andrew. Really close. And looks like the 20th place was the last driver to finish on the lead lap as well.
You see Mark McDonald 1 lap down, just ahead of Reed Gibson, Lucas Souza, David Flanagan, and Brian Zinn. That is Justin Sang, one of the pro drivers, mired well deep in the field at 26th. Blake Scott 27th, and Mario Blendea, Mark Antonucci, and Bobby Flack round out your top 30.
31st place will go to Andre Melchers, who heartbreak for him, Andrew. 2 laps to go. Unfortunately, you can see 2 laps down. The final 2 laps he had disconnected. Scott Reiser is going to finish in 32nd. Mike Galbraith is going to finish in 33rd. Pierre Ivory is going to finish in 34th, 2 laps down. Nick Ludicky as well, 35th, 5 laps down. Matthew Dench, who we saw had, well, terrible luck today, almost got a great comeback race in 36th. Neil Bladestow is going to finish in 37th. And Mark Scott in 38th place, 36 laps down.
So, 90 total minutes of racing action out of the way, and that's how it all breaks down. Nicolas Rubelar, your pro race winner. Bryce Rodriguez in Pro-Am, and for some reason, the amateur winner is escaping my mind, and I do apologize there. But a really good day of racing to get things kicked off, and I'm very much looking forward now even more to the rest of this schedule. Sebring next week, it's a night start for the first time, and a morning finish. Then it's Long Beach, Red Bull Ring in Zolder, and then Charlotte will be a sunset start into night finish. So we get a couple of night races this season, and then VIR and Interlagos finish out the schedule. A lot of great racing ahead.
Oh, absolutely. This schedule is absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to see what the drivers have in store at Sebring, Long Beach, Red Bull, you name it. This season it's going to be absolutely fantastic, Andrew. And with what happened to Andre Melchers, I'm pretty sure he'll come back even stronger next week, so the drivers will have to prepare quite a lot. And I expect this to be a very, very tight championship, Andrew. And I think the championship will come down to the last race at Interlagos.
It definitely will. It usually does come down to Interlagos in so many series. I do want to say congratulations to David Hicks winning that amateur race a little while ago. Your Porsche Cup schedule, if you want to take a look at it, since it is under the same North American Racing League banner, there's a look at it. We have run through 4 races so far. We've still got to go to Spa, Charlotte, Road Atlanta, and Red Bull Rinks. We come right back here in just a few weeks on April 5th, 2022. So a lot of racing ahead for each series. And in case you're wondering how you can catch more Pit Stop TV action and when you can catch more Pit Stop TV action, well, here you go. It's Silverstone up next. Silverstone International, that is for British Sim racers. The BSR MX-5s take to the racetrack on Tuesday at 8 p.m. UK time. That is now 4 p.m. Eastern, and you can extrapolate from there, I'm sure, with daylight savings and everything else. It's Tuesday evening, then 8:30 Eastern, with Circuit de Spa Francorchamps Shop with the Porsche Cup cars for North American Racing League. And then Wednesday, look at that, Atlanta Motor Speedway at least one more time on Pit Stop TV, thanks to the Outlaws Sim Series. A lot of great racing coming up in a lot of places to keep up with it.
Absolutely. Obviously, we're present on each and every single social media at facebook.com/pitstoptv, at twitter.com/pitstoptv_, on instagram.com/pit_stop_tv, and on youtube.com/pitstoptv1 for live coverage.
It's been a whole lot of fun this evening. Certainly always appreciate having the North American Racing League on board. Always appreciate having you fans watching, but that will have to do it this evening. A big shout out to all of those who support us with the North American Racing League. Of course, Racelab.app, Noradness, Tam Liveries, and JS Consulting. Some fantastic partners here of this series, of this league as a whole, and allowing us to do what we do with this North American Racing League. And a big shout out to our partners as well at Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. Permanent Makeup at Cryo in Maine, where you deserve the best care that money can buy. Whiplash Media and Whiplash Sim Cams, and as well, of course, BAM Racing Videos by a race fan for the racing community. For all of us here at Pit Stop TV, that has been Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta round number 1 this season. JP Costa and Emerson Arden joined me on the call, and it was a pleasure as always. My name is Andrew Cardinal IV. We hope you've enjoyed, we hope you come back next time, and we hope you have a great night. We'll see you later.